Brandon.
Yep, you need help?
Yep. Mhm. No. Okay. Oh, maybe the number. No, okay. They should have printed. I wondered why it didn't say password.
Yeah. Oh, caps lock is on.
Oops.
This meeting is being recorded.
That means the Sapper link is on now. Okay. Chris Whidden, can you hear me?
I'm clear.
Nice. Can you speak again, just so, we're trying to test our audio and let's see. Can you say?
Sure, I can log in if you want me to.
No, that's good, because we couldn't hear you, or you couldn't hear us before, so that's good. The link's on.
Right on.
Okay.
So filibuster or not?
Now time out. Okay. Now I'm gonna call the meeting to order, even though I did a few minutes ago, but now we're all set. Are there any comments? Let me take up from residents first on topics not on the agenda. Anybody would like to say something that's not on the agenda?
Yes. You told me we were on comments.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Okay, Sue Boyer, I know, but I don't know you. Can we have your name for the record, please?
It's Rhonda Batchelder.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do you want to start first? Then
Sure.
Okay, so you got my name. So I am a ride manager for a upcoming ride in August. And I am looking to use the Crown Point Trail that runs from Weathersfield, the Wellwood Orchard to Reservoir Road. And I've been told by many people that it's a public trail. However, there is a landowner, Beth Hunton, Hunton, claims that she owns that and she can grant permission or not grant permission to use that trail. So I'm looking to find out if it is a public trail or if indeed she does own it, and I would have to get permission from her because it's likely that she will not grant me permission to use that trail. So I'm looking for information, and I think Sue has a lot of
Okay.
on the trail.
And as many of you know, I'm Susan Boyer, and I thought it was a Class 4 road, so I did a little research and digging and checked with Steve Aikenhead, who's a officer of the Crown Point Road Association, and he wrote back that it goes back to Gus Aldrich and back to the 1700s actually, and that it was then designated as a public road, and in fact the notes show that the select board accepted the entire Crown Point Road in Weathersfield as a town road in April of 1782, and then later in 2010, January 10, 2010, the select board retained it as a Class 4 road along what is historically known and marked as the Crown Point Road. And I found, actually I didn't realize that Crown Point Road Association existed, and so I found a great deal of information about that. And I did look it up in the town maps to see if it was designated on our highway maps, and it is designated on the highway maps as a public road. So my question is, what is the appropriate response when we're told we may not use this town byway?
Well, initially, we'll take your request under advisement because it's not on the agenda. Okay, that's fair enough. So you brought to our attention an issue. I was there. I believe my name was on that document in 2010 when we reaffirmed the information that we had at the time to keep the Crown Point Road in its entirety, and I believe it was as Class 4 road. Now, what that means is, so I don't want to confuse things to say that it's a trail, because the definitions in our highway department policies clearly spell out what are the different classifications of roads and trails and what can be used and can't be used on them. So I think it's, I think now we can turn this request for whatever it is over to the town manager and perhaps Ray at the highway to do a little more research as far as that ability. And I'm assuming it's, when you said ride, or trail ride, you mean horses?
Horses,
Yeah,
yes.
because Class 4 road, my recollection, Ray helped me out in a minute, but would mean non-motorized vehicle traffic. So, we'd want to be really crystal clear as far as what the ability is. So it's not a four-wheeler, it's not like some engine-driven issue. That's important to know. That's right. Oh, okay.
Class 4 is motorized vehicles maintained by the town.
Okay.
Trails are non-motorized.
Okay, so class 4 even can include motorized.
That's
The definition.
Per the state which we adopted.
Only you have to get it out if you get it in there.
Yeah, so I do recall a time, but we never did it, and this is why it's kind of important to see both sides of this Crown Point Road. So it was a little controversial at the time, but so demoding it to a trail would mean only like foot traffic and so forth. So sometimes it's beneficial to leave it alone for landowners and the town the way it is. So for things, so I'm advising that unless the board wants to jump in on a different path about what to do, to ask this, and then the town manager could, or a combination with the highway, could notify, and you'd have to have the absolute correct legal map of the Crown Point Road, where it is, where it passes, if it passes through this woman's property. I don't know it, I don't know that. So you'd want to have a legal standing as far as where that road is located to be, and then go from there. That's what I would ask.
I have some maps here if anybody's interested of that section of town.
Yep.
And
Where is it approximately?
it's between Wellwood Orchard.
Okay,
Grout Lane goes to one side, and one section of that is not town, one section is. But it goes across lots down to, just about to Bullards, where Bullards used to live.
Yep.
On the corner of Reservoir Road.
yep.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
We can take these maps under advisement. I don't mean to rush you, but this board can't make a decision tonight on what to do, and I don't want to get in a thunderstorm or whatever, or something to do. So I think I've done what is fair, which is to turn it over to the town manager to absolutely look up and to confirm that this is the property that's being asked and the location, so that we definitely make sure that's it and there's no mistake, and then he can. Yep.
For those of you who have a red box on your map, I pulled that out to try to target what we were talking about. That's the area.
Yep.
It's not on all the maps, though. So, thank you.
Yep, okay. Are there any other comments from citizens that are not on the agenda?
This way.
I don't see any, no one's online that would like to comment on items that are not on the agenda. Now Brandon just ran upstairs, so he probably, I don't know, if he has something, we'll pick him up when he comes back. Are there any comments from board members that are on topics that are not on the agenda?
Yes. I was reached out to by Lisa, a community member, expressing maybe we ought to consider what we include maybe in the packet, such as volunteer applications with personal info on them from people who are applying to volunteer for various things, because once it's in the packet, it is public info, and some people might not necessarily want their personal information being out there. And also a shout out to the police and the K-9 for their recent activity. It's proven to be worthwhile. So good job to them.
You all set?
Yep, all set.
Any other comments from Board, Paul?
Yeah, I was just gonna, Joey beat me to it, but a big shout out to the police department for everything that they've done in the last few weeks and the support that they've given other towns too. The other quick thing is, I don't see anything on the agenda for agenda review or changing, but I just wanted to mention that we do have a couple of people here that are on item 23 for appointments, so I didn't know if you wanted to look at that or not. I know our meetings sometimes can run pretty long.
Can go, yeah, right. Brandon, did you have anything, comments that are not on the agenda? Anything not on the agenda? I don't. Nothing, okay. I have one. As we get deeper into this, maybe it's not just one, but as we get deeper into the meeting, we'll see a report that's on some year-end budget figures, and it's going to be summertime. I would like the board and to consider that there's been some comments lately about the grounds at the center meeting house. And I would like it if the board could support, well, let me add something first. I am also concerned with, because I live close to the Grout Cemetery, and I don't know the status of the Ascutney Cemetery. Those are the two town-owned cemeteries. The Plain Cemetery is a private one with an endowment here that takes care of the grounds. But as we'll listen to Brandon's report a little bit later on, I am concerned about the grounds at both sites, at the center church site, and I would like the board to entertain thinking. It's just, I'm throwing this idea out there, and we can continue to talk about it at the next meeting. $2,500 for each site to tend the ground better, including soil testing, and to have a little bit stronger plan with the ground. I know that Dick Cross and Dick Valentine care for the Grout Cemetery, and they've put lime down, and they've had a battle with skunks and other varmints that dig up the soil, and it's very sandy, and I think we should be doing a better job with doing a little bit better with sod. With regard to the center meeting house, I did speak with John Arison about it, who had an email, and they've had long-standing concerns with the roots that are showing on the maple trees, and I said, well, John, has anybody done any soil testing and so forth? And he said, no, nothing. So I would like the board to consider that when we learn what's going on with the general fund a little bit later on. Is there any other comments that's not on the agenda? Hearing none, I take your suggestion, Paul, and I'm gonna move it up right after I make the, okay, let's go to the minutes first, and I want to get past number 4. That outlines our opening of Martin Hall and so forth. So, but can I have a motion to accept the minutes approve the minutes of June 7th, 2021?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes of June 7th, 2021. Is there any discussion? I think that's the meeting that I was absent in. Is that? No discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Can we note for this meeting, at least at this time, for us, that Mike's not here? Okay, it's because he's not online? Okay. Next up will be emergency management. I know that Brandon had met with the staff, and we had talked about the openings of town buildings, and as everybody who followed the news knows, the governor has lifted the state of emergency, and there are some guidelines to still follow if you feel uncomfortable, and I would ask all residents who do feel a little bit uncomfortable to respect those people, and take a little more time in thinking. With regard to the building use here. So if you see traffic and and you don't know some things, and there is some privacy acts with, you can't really ask people whether or not they've been vaccinated, but you can do it yourself. You can stay 6 feet apart. And you can, if you see what you think is an uncomfortable amount of people in an area upstairs or whatever, then don't barge in on them, or we don't need to act territorial. Like I was here first, get out of my way. This isn't kindergarten, and we need to understand what's going on, but we also need to stay open. Are there any comments or as far as opening the buildings or trying to get back to whatever normal is? No, don't hear any. Okay, I would take your request up, Paul, and that we would go down to appointments. We have Nicole Gagnon, who has submitted her name in as a budget committee. We, as a rule here, we like people to serve on the budget committee no matter what, because we have a hard time getting those people to fill. So, is there any, would somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we appoint Nicole Gagnon to the budget committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to appoint Nicole Gagnon to the budget committee. Is there any discussion? I don't know if that's one of you folks, or it is. Okay, nice. Do you have any discussion on your behalf, or no? Nothing. You're silent. Excellent. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have Parks and Rec, Nicole Gagnon first. Let's take her up first for Parks and Rec. I don't know if we have a finite number on that committee or not. I don't recall any.
We don't.
People that want to serve are more than welcome to come in and serve. Yes. Anybody want to make that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve Nicole Gagnon to the Parks and Rec Committee. Any discussion? I don't hear anybody speak up. No? None. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Joseph Bublat, do I have that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. To the Parks and Rec, and I just heard a voice, so that means that's you.
That's me, yes.
Nice. Okay. Is there the same conversation? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Well, so moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve Joseph Bublat to the Parks and Rec Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Planning Commission. This one has if I read this correctly, it's a 3-year term with 1 year remaining, so they would be up for re-election in March
Correct.
if they submit the paperwork.
Yes,
Oh, well, no, the appointments come to us, right?
Yep.
they do.
Okay. So this is a term for, do my math really quickly, 6 months?
8
No, more
months.
than that.
Yeah, it's more than that.
8 months.
It's to fill out.
Mr. Bublat is here. Can we have a motion first to approve if the board would like to see that happen?
I'll make a motion for that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve Joseph Bublat for the Planning Commission. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you guys for actually stepping in and being an active part of the community. Appreciate it, and we need more people to be doing that. So thank you.
It's good to be involved with the town, especially, there we moved down here, bought some properties, like, we might as well be involved with it.
For sure. Well, I appreciate it.
We're not going anywhere.
Any further discussion? This is for, so you understand this is for an 8-month term, but then you kind of fill out the paperwork to get reappointed. Our board up here, and we may not be the same people, but does the annual appointments. I think so, right? The planning board doesn't go for the general elections.
No, they don't.
No, it's you guys, remember? The last.
Yeah, I was thinking zoning, or what, in my
Yeah.
mind, I was going to other committees as well.
And we have, this will make a full board now.
Yes, 5, yes, and it hasn't been that way for a little while.
Yeah, so.
Yeah. Any other discussion on the nomination? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'll see you next Monday.
Okay.
Planning Commission.
Nice. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you follow the schedule, but if you contact the town office.
Brandon will.
And I think the same with the Parks and Rec. I mean, I know right now they're getting a little bit active in this music event thing or something that's maybe taken off down at the Weathersfield Field, but the planning board meets twice a month or tries to.
Well, that's good with the music stuff, because I actually have a private DJ business and
Yep.
have whole sound systems and stuff, so I'm very familiar with that gig life. It's nice to get back to doing that work, actually.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Town manager update.
Alright, so I just have a couple of things to update the board on tonight. The first is we received official notice that Walter Morency is resigning from his position as a police officer at the Weathersfield Police Department. Mr. Morency intends on retiring from law enforcement, and he would like to thank everyone at the town of Weathersfield for having him serve in the town in that capacity. His resignation letter is also attached if anybody wants to give that a read. We welcome Officer Ryan Prince and K9 AJ to the Weathersfield Police Department. Ryan is 32 years old and is originally from New Haven, Connecticut. He graduated from Southern Connecticut State University in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in social work. Ryan began his career in corrections and then worked as a law enforcement officer in Delaware from 2012 to 2015. During that time, he worked mainly with high-risk sex offenders and then spent some time assisting various task forces such as the DEA and U.S. Marshals. Ryan then accepted a position as a police officer in Springfield. In 2015, he was promoted to K9 Handler in 2017 and partnered with K9 AJ, who is a 5.5-year-old Belgian Malinois. K9 AJ is certified through the Vermont Police K9 Association in patrol, tracking, and narcotics since 2017. K9 AJ has had several notable tracking finds to include suicidal subject who hid in a vacant building. Ryan and K9 AJ focus on drug interdiction and working with the community in trouble areas. So we look forward to all their plans in regard to police issues in Weathersfield. Does anybody have any questions about that part of the update?
Me. I take note of what Paul and Joey said earlier, but I am concerned, and I would like to make sure that, that I remember when there was a narcotic issue down on some land that I had haying a few years ago, and dogs are very useful, and the unit was attempted to be called, and it wasn't this one because it was that far ago. I am concerned, though, that our police has evolved over the years of when and it wasn't too long ago that we had one person, and then it went to one with a lot of part-time people, and then it went to two with a lot of part-time people. But to me, yes, there's lots of value in a canine unit, but the canine unit's going to be called constantly out of town. And while I want to be friends with other towns, I'm concerned that we have a budget and that I don't, it's kind of like mutual aid with all the fire things. They don't send each other bills around and everything, but it's a very, very useful piece and a tool to use. And I hope that we don't get called for everything. When we went to 2 police officers and a lot of part-timers, we saw the call pattern from, for instance, state police go completely south with assistance. Because we elevated our police budgets here from $100,000 to $300,000 a year. So I just want to walk a careful line about what we're doing as a town and what we offer everybody else. And I know that life is really difficult right now, so with people moving here and whatever. Paul?
Just a question on that. What's your recommendation then? I mean, do we?
I don't have one, but this is brand new.
Yep.
For the town
Yep.
to have a canine unit is new.
Because they've already been to Bells Falls, at least I know of one I saw. I don't know about other places.
And
but
I
yeah.
like the fact that we're catching or whatever we're doing
Yeah.
and being mutual aid type services. But I'm concerned about that and I don't know how to handle that.
No, I don't know either.
Because the car actually will have to be either retrofitted or some sort of allowance for an animal. And I'm sure that they've budgeted that all into their, whatever they're doing. It's not a human.
No.
And it's a very, very useful tool. And it's called upon a great deal. I know because Larry Muldoon, when we were down in my hayfield, I knew what was going on, and he asked for a dog, and they just couldn't get one available. That was from another source. So I just want to throw that out there, that's all. We have to work within our budgets, and it is what it is. Okay, and keep going down your line. I screwed up my screen, so I can't follow along with you.
So the state police, they donated the cage, and then our officers installed it, so there was no cost to retrofit the vehicles. Just as an FYI.
Is there any, long as we're on police, we got the new cruiser, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so
It hasn't received all the bells and whistles at this point, but it will be in the next, next week or this week or?
Yeah, should be soon.
Okay.
So is it in service or not?
It is. It's in service right now
Okay.
without the bells and whistles.
So later on, like for another meeting or two, then we're gonna have to figure out what we're doing with the third one.
Yes.
Normally, we either put that up for bid or auction or something. So we'll have to figure that out. Okay.
All right. Moving on to the highway department, we received 2 resignations in the highway department. Philip Levis resigned in April of 2021, and we recently accepted the resignation of Scott Pipe. Mr. Pipe is moving to Kansas because he was unable to find a place to live in this area, and we just want to thank Mr. Pipe for his service in Weathersfield. Is there anything you'd like to say?
He's been a great asset. I just wished he had better luck finding a place. He's moved 3 times since he's been here in 2 years. He just can't find a place. He had a place lined up, and they increased his rent before he even moved in. So he got a full-time job offer in Kansas and took it.
So we did, with the first resignation in highway, we've held the advertisement of that position because the select board will take up a mechanic study. We did advertise this position last week, but we have not received any applications at this point. So I'll keep you guys updated on that as we move forward. Finance department, Rosalie McNamara resigned from her position as executive assistant to finance. Her last day is today. Since then, we've had productive conversations with a variety of resources and are developing a plan for finance. I'll keep you updated on this process as well. And we wish Ms. McNamara the best of luck with her future. Fire departments. We met with West Weathersfield Fire Department last week to develop our 10-year capital plan for the contract. We collected a lot of data, and we're meeting with the Scoutney Fire Department this week to fill in the blanks on their end, and then we'll move on to highway. Chief Spalding notified me that he accepted an offer on the sale of his 1986 ladder truck, and he stated that he'll be turning those funds over to the town to transfer to fire apparatus acquisition reserves. So that's all I have for my report. Does anybody have any questions about any of those topics?
If the, I sent out, after Rosalie sent her letter explaining that she wanted to leave, I sent an email over the last week, and I'm gonna keep sending it to Brandon. So I want the board to understand that it's at the top of the list to, I know every conversation that I have with him, he downplays it a little bit, but for me, the town and the highway and the solid waste starts and ends with finance. And we need to keep good books, and we need to have a structure in that place above all else. So all the other things will follow. So I don't want the board members or anybody right now at the moment, until we figure out what's gonna happen with finance and the structure of that, that all these other things like solid waste and we're gonna get into it a little bit further with the fees and so forth, are really kind of, they'll fall into place once we have whatever the system that we're going to do. And I have to remind him that we've had people, including board members, leave, come and go, people come and go upstairs, but we absolutely, for the best interest of the town, need a structure and a system that is easily understandable for people to pick up and to understand. So I want to remind that as board members right now. Paul?
So just help me understand what you just said. We don't have a system right now?
We do have a system.
Well,
Okay,
maybe that was a poor choice of words, but we had a resignation.
We had a resignation, we have a position open.
Yes.
But we have a system of bookkeeping, record keeping that is pretty tight, I think, at this point.
We do.
So I just wanted to make sure that the way it sounded was, you know.
Well, but that person's gone. And so we're looking, and what I don't want to do is, and Brandon and I had this conversation where he says, don't worry about a thing, I've got it and I'm doing it. Well, that's not what the town manager, in my view, that's not what the town manager's role is. He's above that, and we need to have somebody that's in control of whatever we've got for vendors or bills or something. Now, like he said, he's researching some alternatives about what to do. But I'm intending, and I'm really, really adamant about keeping the structure, because, I mean, I could check out tomorrow. You know, God forbid then, if the town manager is not picking on Brandon, but if the town manager then was in charge of 2 roles, and then for some reason he became incapacitated, then we're all gonna meet scrambling around, trying to what to do.
Yep.
That's my point. It's not to be
Gotcha.
dumping on him or anything. It's the system. Did you have a question, Joe?
Yeah, I'm more worried about filling our highway vacancies before it comes to be wintertime and crunch time with a paving job coming up, and I'm sure you're probably thinking the same thing. I mean, where are we advertising these jobs, and how soon can we get somebody?
We advertised it on Indeed and a couple of other places last week. We're gonna pick up additional advertising this week and see what we can do.
I would really utilize social media, and happy to help with that if possible. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what your requirements are or anything, but that's been very effective for any means of reaching out to people that I need to do, and I think you'll get more candidates.
Basically a shortcut to the website, so you get an application.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a good place to work. It's a good job. I know people that have waited forever to take a town or a state job because it is secure and your check is signed every Friday, no matter what, or every other Friday. But
I'm gonna do something up, and I'll shoot you a text tomorrow, and then you can post it on your Facebook, and maybe we can get it on Villages and start pushing it out that way. Yeah, VLCT.
What a Valley News. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think the town's Facebook page or the
Vermont
web
Standard.
page, or people tend to
a
be
good
following
newspaper.
those
a
things.
quicker reach.
Yeah.
Is all.
I don't know the framework about what they're doing, but there is a little danger here. And the last time that a vacancy came up, I can remember when Ed Morris was here, and then I do know that there was a previous salary structure. And one of the concerns is, you can't start anybody a higher than what some people are getting there. You want to start another fire, go ahead, that's really quick, it's gonna happen. So, there is some danger in this spreading around too many stories about what including everywhere in the town. So, I haven't seen the salary structure. I don't know exactly what the current people are getting paid, but you gotta pay attention to what's being advertised, to what's already being paid, and what the benefits are being offered to those that are already employed.
It's the same. We took an average from the lowest to not even the highest.
Because the surprise I got was, well, no, we already corrected those 3 people that were in, and I didn't know about that, and you know me, I don't like surprises. So, one of the other things that I would throw out there, when this happened before and we were caught, and I know, Ray, that you did this, you contacted a couple of contractors, so I'm not as concerned as you are, Joey. First of all, the residents of Weathersfield are very understanding. We only hear of a few that are complaining about roads. Generally, it's in mud season or some event that's a little beyond our control. But the regular, maybe you've got a few now that are already complaining.
No comment.
But for the most part, I hear the opposite. I really mean it. I hear that people are getting around the roads, they're seeing that ditching's getting done. They may not like the extent of the ditching that's getting done, but for the most part, the roads are well kept. And what we did before was, you contacted a couple of contractors that actually, as the season winds down, they already had their CDLs. And I know Ben Waters was on your list, I thought, at one time.
I had temporary
Yeah,
positions because I had a person out.
I know.
And the other thing we did is during COVID, I had a whole bunch of contractors lined up in case all hell broke loose. I had to have somebody come in and plow.
So I'm not seeing like the 911 thing right now. We're gonna get into whatever the mechanic thing is or whatever. That's under advisement to see. But I'm glad you've got an ad in the paper, and we'll see where that goes. Any other comments or what on Brandon's report?
I just have one comment. I know that Steve Hires here for the credit card policy, and I don't know if we can take that up next. So
Before all these others.
Sorry, Steve, I didn't mean to stick that so far down on the list.
It's in for the second reading, which means that it's gonna go another meeting anyway. But I'm happy to do that. Is there any other comments about Brandon's report?
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll be happy to move that up. Let's go to the town credit card thing. I wasn't here at the meeting. That would be the first reading that was talking about. Did you have any concerns, Steve, when you were here about this, or is this just a second reading? It's like a formality?
Well, two things. The second reading is I think perhaps just a formality. People seem inclined generally favorably towards the first one, but so let me talk about that first. What I put on the table in front of all of you is maybe a cleaner edition than what I think is in the packet. The packet shows all of the crossouts and additions and corrections, which can be hard when you try to read it. So one of the two documents I gave to you tonight is the wording without all the changes, the wording of the proposal. We made two changes after making notes about the comments last time. We made two changes to the document, and we underlined one of the changes and crossed out the wording at the other. So in the third paragraph called credit card use, about halfway down the paragraph, we added the words "or undocumented." So a card holder who makes unauthorized or undocumented purchases will be liable for the amount of such purchases. There was some concern expressed about that at the last meeting. And then at the very tail end of that page, since we currently don't have the position of finance director, then nobody's should be surrendering their credit card to a finance director. But otherwise, that should be the same thing as what's in the document for the second reading.
So, first question, on that same paragraph, number 3, so you're saying that the card holder, define card holder, will it be in the name of the person that is carrying the card, or is it the town of Weathersfield?
Well, it's a town of Weathersfield credit card, but it has to have somebody's name on it. So we'll have 5 cards now instead of 3. They'll be in the name of those 5 individuals, and those 5 individuals will be authorized to use it, plus anyone that they designate to be able to use it. So they might, on occasion, like the fire chief might, on occasion, if they're out at a fire, might hand the card over to someone and say, go get a couple of cases of water or whatever.
So in that event, the person signs his name to whatever, and then they come up with a slip here to the office? Is that what happens?
Right.
So that's what you're talking as a documented purchase, an authorized purchase?
Right. An authorized purchase is one where you bring the itemized receipt back into the office.
Okay, next question. On the first, where the form is, on the third paragraph down, where it says a maximum of $10,000 at any time outstanding, is that the total for the 5 cards?
Total for the 5 cards. Each card would have a $2,000 individual limit.
And is that on an annual basis? So you can't just like come in a month and say, that I'm gonna blow $2,000 and then that renews so I can blow another 2,000. So you could effectively have a really lot of money out on the cards.
Well, not until you pay it.
Right,
I mean, yeah.
right.
But the maximum at any point in time is $2,000. So if you need a $2,500 item,
You're out of
on
luck.
the card.
Can't go on the card.
And if you reach $2,000 before that bill, before the end of the month, and the bill gets paid, it gets cut off. Once the bill is paid, you've got your $2,000 balance available.
And I've been concerned about these cards, and because they're third-party reimbursements, sometimes it takes a lot of work to track all these down to make sure you've got what you've got. I mean, if I had one, I'd probably be guilty of it too, and there'd probably be a cup of coffee in there for me, and it wasn't supposed to be, and it's like $2.98, and then I also bought 4 2x4s for the use of the town. It's a very tempting thing to abuse. But that was my question. So you could, for $10,000 at any one time, yes, but when you pay them, it renews completely. So you could be conceivably talking about a lot more money than that out on cards.
Oh, if you look at it over the course of the year.
Of a year.
There can only be a total of $10,000 outstanding on the cards in total at one time.
Right.
Hold all the cards together.
Until, yep, no, I get
You
that.
could sort of multiply that by 12 months, and
Yep.
so potentially we could charge $120,000.
Yep.
No,
Well,
we don't, and usually if our monthly credit card payment for 3 cards, maybe around $1,000, maybe during COVID it was a little more at times, but people don't generally get anywhere near their limit.
but it is the future, and I know you just chuckled, but because, even the state learned that. Ask John, where they passed that resolution, or where they now tax 6% income tax. They have money that's going in the education fund they never thought they had because of Amazon, and there's nobody at stores, and they're all getting stuff delivered at their home through cards, all online.
We have a town Amazon account.
Yeah.
What I basically use my card for is if I go to Runnings or, Tractor Supply and pick up a trailer hitch, or someplace I don't have an account,
Yep.
I will use the card to buy something on that account. If I use it more than once, I set up an account.
'Cause we do have Amazon locally, Bibbins, we do have vendors where you can go in and charge it on the town account.
Yeah, and then get reimbursed. See that, right? So you reimburse, or you have to.
Well, the bill comes to us.
Yeah, and then you look at a slip.
And we get a signed slip receipt.
Paul.
So I'm okay with the credit card policy per se, but I'm just curious of what your stance is, the way you were communicating that. You're worried that people are gonna use these cards in a way that they're not meant to work, to do this?
No, but it requires some work upstairs, and as we go through another transition of finance,
Yep.
Steve is the treasurer. He's not the bookkeeper. So if we have an entity, and Brandon has talked to me about it, well, then you've got the paperwork that comes in the office upstairs. It would have to be farmed out to give to somebody to check to see. See, that's the when they do a complication nature about using these kinds of implements to buy things.
I have to say that Steve, and which we definitely respect, is very strict when it comes to receipts. If there's no receipt, Steve makes sure that a receipt comes in.
I get all that, but I've always been concerned, because some of these things could, if you have a big purchase, then come to us and ask us. For instance,
They're not. These aren't for big purchases.
well, there was one time when Brandon we did do the computers on one. Didn't you do that through the cards? And it was like
We did, and we actually ended up losing out quite a bit of money because we weren't able to charge the computers, so we weren't able to purchase the computers from Lenovo, and we lost 4 computers out of that because we couldn't get them in time for the grant. So we lost well over $4,000.
So if you don't mind, just as a follow up on that, I'm very aware of how the cards work. Like I mentioned in the last meeting, I have a purchase card for my company. I have a travel card for my company. I understand about receipts. I understand about how they have to be itemized. You can't just go to a restaurant and get a bill that says $130. You've got to have a chicken nugget meal and a Big Mac meal and so on and so forth on it. So The other thing though that happens at my place that I work is I have to go in and enter those receipts. I put them in, I go to the credit card company, I get the statement, I get this at work, and I get an email saying, okay, there's a transaction on your account now, you've got to go in and do. I have to go in there, log in, I have to PDF, photocopy my receipt, put it in there, and send it. And if not, your limit is the 2,000 or whatever it's going to be. You don't get it doesn't get paid, and then after that month, people start coming and emailing you and going, hey, listen, we got issues. What's going on here? You can't have it like this. And then your card either gets pulled or you get in trouble. People have been fired for buying lumber at Home Depot and stuff. Things do happen, and they have a form for, as you pull the wrong card out per se. But I know what you're saying. We don't have a finance director, but I feel that they're valuable to an extent, especially when, case in point, and we all know this, we have a fire department that's had issues. They've gone to the pump, not been able to get gas. So this is one way of helping with that. Now that problem should be fixed, but my point is that stuff happens, and I think it's needed. So I think we trust the people we have, like Joey mentioned at the last meeting, and there is a backup for this, receipts, and you're not going to get that far. You're not going to get that many months in before you realize.
You're not going to get more than a month. I mean, if we don't get our receipts, we're going to know when the statement comes in.
Right, it's right off the bat.
And then we're going to investigate it, and if something's strange, then we're going to address it.
So,
Any other questions about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just like to see maybe every 90 days, 120 days, some kind of analysis on how much money is being spent on each card, even if we look at a rolling statement, because you're talking up to $2,000 a month, or up to really $10,000 a month, like you just mentioned. That's a little scary to me, because it just can get out of hand real quick. And if one's doing it, well, why can't I? Next thing you know, you got 5 cards maxed out instead of 1 all the time. So as long as we keep a thumb on it, and then maybe just monitor the use of the card.
That's legit.
In that way.
And all of this funding is coming out of like areas in the budget as well. So it's not like these credit cards are above and beyond each respective department that has a credit card's budget. It's actually being booked to those lines within their budgets.
Okay, that's good.
The highways,
It's not above and beyond. It's not a charge card above and beyond the budget.
Okay.
Your suggestion, though, Joey, is not in this print, and I take it. I like that suggestion, but you're talking about policy, or you're talking about procedure of the upstairs office. So it's not in the policy that says, at 90 days you have or there's some kind of a hiccup here to check on some things. So you're trusting that the office, whoever they are, is working upstairs, will monitor quarterly.
And the check, I think I'm right on this. I don't get into the weeds. It's not my job to get into the weeds on some of this stuff, but every check we write, we came to you maybe months ago or maybe a year ago and asked for permission to write checks ahead of the warrant process in the case to avoid late fees.
Yes.
And this was the reason. It's a $35 per account late fee, and so now that we have 5 accounts, that adds up pretty quickly, and we only pay once every 2 weeks. Sometimes there's a 3-week gap between meetings, and there's no margin for error. And we found out that the mail was taking us like 7 to 9 days from when we mailed the check to when Brattleboro processed the payment. So we now write those checks almost the day we get the day we get all the receipts in after we get the bill, and we run it up to Windsor to deposit it directly in the bank because of the late fees. But those checks still should show up on your warrants that you sign, your list of checks. So you can always see what those credit card bills are. But if it's necessary, we can report them to you on I'm volunteering your people, I shouldn't do that.
I really don't, it'll only take us under 10 minutes to put that kind of analysis together. I don't have a problem doing that. And I don't have a problem ever reviewing credit card statements with the full board, or if somebody wants to come in and take a look at the credit card statements, we can sit down and take a look at them.
And I'll tell you, I've never really asked the question because I don't want to know the answer. Whether like tonight, you'll authorize me or instruct me to sign the checks. And I don't really know whether I have the authority to refuse to do that or not. But I won't sign a check if I'm not comfortable with the backup. And it's probably the credit card receipts that, not that it happens all that often, but it's probably the credit card receipts that I think are the one of the areas where I check very carefully to make sure that, because people can get in trouble for just, out of pure innocence by just not being a little sloppy about what they keep for receipts. Stuff the receipt in your pocket and.
Well,
But I think that's covered in your oath of office. When you raise your hand up for Floanne and you say you're doing it in the best interest of Weathersfield, I think you're covered under that. So you're doing it in your best judgment. You're holding that check, or you're signing the check on behalf of what you think is the best interest of the town. I just think you're covered.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have a question?
I was just gonna say that's why at the last meeting I asked about, sometimes receipts I put them through the wash half the time because I don't empty my pockets out. So then I go to work and I'm like, crud, I don't have this receipt. Well, there's a form you fill out, and if you can't, like Home Depot and stuff, I can go back and try to get it, or I can get it through the email, whatever, but there's a form that fill out and the manager has to sign it, and you probably don't want to send that to them too many times before but there is a process for that loss receipt, damage receipt. I mean, especially the firefighter or something, God, can you see trying to put it in a pocket, and it's not gonna happen probably, so.
I believe in forgiveness and understanding, but I also believe in learning.
Absolutely.
So that it's okay if you, next time, make a different mistake.
right,
Don't make the same mistake over and over and over and over again.
Any other questions about the credit card policy? Because if none, then we're going to move on to the next meeting. Will be the third reading.
There's a second part to this.
Okay.
Which is this resolution. This last meeting, we talked about the fact that the timing doesn't work quite right because the fire departments are going online with us on July 1, and it would be nice to have those credit cards for them available July 1. And the vote at the last meeting was to proceed with procuring the cards for the fire departments. And in order to do that, there are two things that have to happen. The first is that the select board would have to adopt the resolution that's on your table, the bank resolution that would allow us to have 5 cards and a grand total of $10,000 of credit card limit among those 5. And if you adopt that, then the board clerk would sign as testimony that you did adopt it, and then I could go ahead and sign the cards sign the form that gives all the information about Darren and Josh so that they can issue the cards.
Okay. I'm going to ask the board to adopt that tonight because it's dated tonight, and I don't see any. I think we may have a few of us have had questions. I think that we're satisfied with whatever the appropriate check or balance is going to be with the cards. So does the board want to adopt this resolution? It's dated tonight for the purpose of what Steve just explained, which is, and the 1, 2, 3rd paragraph is probably the most pointed, which is which he just explained, which is a maximum of any one-time outstanding of a total of $10,000. Does the board want to make that motion to adopt this resolution tonight?
Yeah.
If so, let's have a motion on the table.
So moved.
Okay, the motion's been made to adopt the credit card resolution form for the town of Weathersfield tonight, which would be June 21st, 2021. Is there a second?
Yep, second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Everybody clear about what's going to happen here? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the clerk will sign the appropriate document for Steve. Thank you.
Who's the clerk?
Don't know.
Kelly.
Joey or Paul?
Paul.
Yes, I am.
Okay, Kelly. I don't
Doesn't
know.
say
Changed
clerk.
it.
No, I thought I was. No, it don't matter.
Remember, we gotta look that up. Can you look that up?
Well, no, when you guys reorganized, Kelly was
The clerk.
named the clerk. That's why I put you third in the emails now, not
Oh,
Paul.
okay.
Sorry.
I guess I sign it. What do I sign? Yeah. I'll sign it for you so you can.
See, Joy, I'm not the clerk.
Nice.
I forget who's who and what's what. I was gonna run the meeting, Dave.
No idea. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go on.
You're running the meeting, I'm running out the door.
Boy, he's got a lot of confidence in you.
Wow, I was gonna say, what the heck?
He's number 4. Okay, let's go to number 6, general fund year-end update.
All right, so for the purpose of this update, I removed the transfers to reserves and in the fund balance from last year and so forth. I believe I removed the fund balance. Yes, I did, because the select board already made those transfers and it just kind of complicated the way that the budget looked. So in order to provide a clearer image of the general fund, I removed those. Another thing that I did was, on the top side summary, you'll notice that there's a $30,000 special article appropriation that was voted on at town meeting. I was asked to show this in the top side summary. So in the administration budget in pink in July, I made it appear that $30,000 wasn't there, and then put the $30,000 here. That's not the way that it reflects in our books. I just did it for the purpose of showing the special article separated in the top side summary. So anyways, if you could remove that $30,000 there and put it back here, and that's the way that it appears on our books, or you could look at it this way. So if anybody wants to see that the other way, I can do that too. You'll notice that the emergency management account is no longer located in the fire department budget documents. Due to the pandemic, the emergency management account, which was originally approved for $300 prior to having knowledge of the pandemic, was used to pay for all of our COVID expenses. So grants were received, expenses and revenues fluctuated, and it was difficult for the fire departments to concentrate solely on their budgets. So if you have like a $50,000 grant that's split between both departments, it just kind of complicated things. Steve suggested making this its own department, but what I ended up doing is I just put it in the admin budget for now. Steve also created an LGR, to clear things up, the treasurer created a new revenue account called LGER grant, where we received the $54,000 LGR funding. The treasurer also created an expense account called LGER Grant COVID, where all COVID expenses are booked that were eligible under this grant. So all of the expenses were moved out of the emergency management expense account, and the remaining $4,003 were expenses incurred after December 31st, when the grant ended, and those are currently in the emergency management account. So those are some of the things that we did to kind of clear things up.
Okay, so in emergency management right now, there's $4,003
In expenses.
in expenses, but not money.
Well, what had happened was, in FY20, we spent about $10,000 in COVID expenses, but we hadn't received the LGR grant in FY20. We ended up receiving it in FY21. So about $10,000 in COVID expenses that were charged in FY20 were actually absorbed into the books then. And then when the books closed and we received the $54,000, we only ended up spending, I think it was $42,000. So there was an additional roughly $10,000. So this year it appears that we actually have a $6,000 or $8,000 surplus
From the grant.
Okay.
So that didn't have to, because some of these other grants, if you don't use it, you give it back or something, but that's not the case with that one?
Well, we did use it.
Okay.
So we can show that we used it in FY20, in FY /21, but on our books, that's already been flushed out in FY /20.
Okay.
So,
And you just made the date of 12/31/2020. Obviously, we've had some expenses beyond that.
and
So,
we absolutely
yeah,
have, and
yeah.
and those are discussions. It's all in that emergency management account. So
Yep.
when we receive ARPA funding, maybe we want to wash that away with ARPA funding. So when the general fund was proposed and approved by the Weathersfield voters, we anticipated $1,414,000 in revenue, of which $1,084,11 was to be raised by property taxation. As I've already mentioned, the Weathersfield voters approved $30,000 special article, and then I explained what we did in the topside summary there. Overall, we anticipate receiving $1,502,118 in revenue, of which $1,084,11 was raised by property taxes.
Hold it right there. Isn't that off by a little bit, because wasn't the 30,000 also to be by property taxes? So
It was, so yeah, $1,084,11 plus 30,000.
yeah, it'd be like
But I separated out.
1,111. Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah. The only thing that wasn't raised by property taxes was the grant.
Sure, yep.
Yep.
So the approved was $1,444,850, which includes that $30,000, and the projection is $1,500,000 to $118,000. So the difference is $57,000 in revenue. And if you look on the top side summary, you can kind of see where that revenue came from. Expenses. When the budget was originally proposed, we anticipated $1,414,000 in expenses, or $1,444,000 including the special article. And overall, we anticipate having $1,413,000 in expenditures at the year end in the general fund. So the net is $88,784.
Okay, question right off the get-go. Was that 30,000 transferred to fire reserve?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
So the net is true. I
Well,
hate to be off here a little bit on,
It's not, I wouldn't say it's completely accurate. There's definitely a margin of error, but we looked through the books, and that's what I project to
you
year end.
saw
But
somewhere during the year a $30,000 transfer to fire reserve. I
yeah,
don't know.
Steve,
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Steve made that
Yes,
transfer.
Transferred the money to the fire reserve.
You
And
know
that,
where I was going with that. So if you look at this through, like that one line where it says that it wasn't really part of taxes, but it was, because it was a special article on taxes. But the net is the same. That's good.
so in the FY '22 budget, and if you look in the admin budget, we have this line called appropriation revenue. And in the FY '22 budget, we set that for, I think, $43,000. And we had done that because the select board originally approved an article to go on the ballot for highway. And we ended up not putting that on the ballot.
You're losing me already. Aren't we still talking about general fund?
We are.
Okay, so don't get into highway. Let's finish general fund.
Well, I guess we'll get into the fund balance on another date, but we're gonna need to move some of that into FY '22.
But we can't, we need to address what we address legally, which is one fund doesn't cross into another. So let's just keep focused on the general fund, and then we'll I'm glad to talk about highway, but that's another line, so.
Well, no, what I was talking about was the appropriation revenue and the admin budget within the general fund, and the fact that we added $43,000 to that appropriation revenue for FY '22, and then didn't put an article to be voted on by the town, so
For
we
what?
have a shortage of funding in FY '22.
What do you recall that it was for?
I believe it was for highway.
But it can't be located in the general fund.
We were, I can bring all the documentation and show it to you in the next meeting.
I mean, the law is what it is, and they're pretty specific about crossing into funds between highway over to general fund. They don't let you do it.
Well, we didn't put any article on the ballot.
What would you think?
It just shows that we have a revenue line that we don't have. There's no revenue coming into that line in FY '22.
But are you talking about prior year fund balance being budgeted as both a revenue and expense?
No, I'll have to go through this with you tomorrow. I was reviewing it today, and I was just gonna kind of brief the board on what I was talking about. But I'll show it to you tomorrow.
I mean, I don't recall a line that has happened to be empty, or not in all my politics would we put a article or intend to put an article for $43,000 without having it affixed to something.
It was 30,000.
But it would be, okay, but what would be on the name of
It was fixed to the highway.
For?
Here, I can go back in the.
No, that's
notes.
okay, but still, it couldn't be, was it voted on by the voters?
Wasn't it?
It was voted on by the select board, but then we didn't put it on the ballot.
But you can't.
It was
like,
accident.
but
You and I
can't-
talked about this already.
We did?
We did.
That hay's getting to you, Dave.
No.
I'm a-
We don't need to talk about it now, but for clarification purposes, if it wasn't voted on by the voters, then it has to stay where I guess it would be, which would be in the general fund. We don't have the authority to move money around
I'm
thinking
not
that.
asking anybody to move any money around. I'll write a memorandum to the board and explain it in more detail.
So is that general fund completed? You can move to highway or not?
It is.
So you're thinking there's a net difference for the board to know to determine what to do with. Now, at some moment, there's nothing on the agenda that says we're transferring anything tonight for a really, really strong reason. We haven't finished the year yet. So we don't begin a new year until July 1st for anything. And you can anticipate, you can do what you want to, but those meetings or expenses are going to be made down the road after the new year's over. And one of them will be, generally speaking, now this is an estimate, and I would caution everybody that it's an estimate only, because sometimes we have other things that might come in, where you see a net in black letters of $88,000 for a general fund surplus. So that's in combination of what Brandon just gave us for revenue increases and expense declines. We will have to gather other information as far as what to do with that down the road. The voters of Weathersfield voted on a rainy day fund. To my knowledge, that's fully funded right now. But we'll have to gather up information to see what that is. There was a 10%. Obviously, that climbs a little bit because, as you can see, the article for the general fund was $1,414,000. So the voters would allow $141,485 in a rainy day fund. I don't know what that fund balance is right now, but that could be, raised a little bit higher out of that 88.7. Or in a perfect budget year, we take that money and that's the starting point of a new budget. I mean, any more than a deficit is.
In addition to that, when we were discussing fund balances, we anticipated a potential $17,486 shortage in FY21, but we didn't end up with that shortage. We ended up with a surplus, so we still have another $17,000 to deal with on top of this $88,000.
Are we in highway right now?
No, we're in
Thank you.
general fund.
I'm getting nervous.
So, and there's a lot to talk about here, and as we get down into the meeting here, this is gonna be really fast, but the ARPA discussion, I wanna have a whole separate meeting for that. Like I said early on about finances, everything else can fall in line, we can argue about what we wanna spend money on or not, but we're in an enviable position right here, and we have been. Brandon's been doing a great job, so has all of the town, trying to contain its expenses, and the Weathersfield people have been paying for it. So, we need to thoughtfully know, as with the ARPA, I don't want to spill over into that discussion, but how we can make the best use of these opportunities. That's all. Okay, we're done with the general fund. Let's move to, I guess we can move to highway. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
Now, ready, Ray?
Sure.
Okay. No, I didn't want you to.
So the voters and when we, excuse me, when the highway budget was proposed and approved by the Weathersfield voters, we anticipated $1,241,000 in revenue, of which $946,000 was to be raised by property taxation. The Weathersfield voters also approved a $33,000 special article to be placed in the highway equipment acquisition reserve. This transfer already did take place. So this was not broken out in the topside summary. However, you will see it in the highway budget document. So if you look in the highway budget document, you'll see I did include that $33,000. Including the special article and excluding the $117,000 fund balance, the select board voted to move into reserves in addition to the cumulative audited fund balance from prior years. $1,156,000 in revenue was anticipated. For review purposes, I excluded the fund balance from this review since the select board already transferred it to reserves in order to see the budget more clearly.
What do you think, like when we go to anticipate receiving, when it says like 1.2 million, including grant revenue, can you break that down, or does it a little bit later? Maybe I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah, you can, if you look in the budget document, you'll see everything broken out.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's okay.
Do you want it? So the projected difference in revenue is positive $41,633, and that came from several different areas. One was some grant revenue. Two was we received more in state aid to highway. And those are the two major areas.
And I think that's going to also increase a little bit more, because I don't know whether you've talked to John, but I have. He sits on the house, and they have also increased it a little bit more than what
for
was.
FY22.
Yep. So the new budget year coming in.
On the expense side, when the highway budget was proposed and approved, Weathersfield voters anticipated $1,241,000 in expenses, of which $946,000 was to be raised by property taxes. For review purposes, I excluded the fund balance, and overall we anticipate expending $1,056,353. So in the topside summary, the projected actual is $1,146,000, which includes a proposed transfer of $90,000 to highway capital maintenance and improvements. By transferring this $90,000 to highway capital maintenance and improvements, we will be able to fund the Kendrick Corner Road paving project this summer. I know that's up for debate, and the select board can decide to do that or not do that, but that was one of the things that Ray and I were discussing needed to be done. So the approved was $1,156,000. The projection with the transfer was $1,146,000. The projection without the transfer is $1,056,000. The projected difference with the reserve transfer is $10,449, and the projected difference without the reserve transfer is $100,449. So you can see the two different nets. If we transferred $90,000 to reserves, we would still have $52,000 to deal with estimated, and if we didn't, we'd have $142,000 to deal with. So one of the things that we tried to do was figure out what the most appropriate use of the money was, so we had something to present to the select board. But if there's a disagreement on whether or not we should pave, then we can discuss that. Any questions?
Do you see any questions? I don't have anything on the agenda to prove this tonight, and the reason why is it's before the end of the year. I've had a conversation with Brandon today or before, that about, I don't know whether this is the best use of funds, and well, historically, my position for the town is, things that have long life on them deserve loans, as opposed to using up all your cash. One of the things that we did not do this year, for instance, and it's gonna hit us again on the new budget year, is diesel fuel. It's up $1 a gallon. So having a net to me, of a considerable lower amount is one question. Paying cash for paving any project would be a concern for me, because you gotta believe that if you're gonna do it, it's gonna have a 10 or 15 or maybe even longer year life. And there may be something else with it, what I don't even know about, would require, use of funds. So it's new to me. We didn't take this up. We didn't take up any paving of a particular project in the budget process. We allocated dollar amounts to paving, but we didn't say, "Oh yeah, you're the road to do," and there's no other roads that are going to be done. So it's up for discussion. I know they put an RFP out, but there's no actionable item on the agenda to be transferring money or to picking projects. One of a fundamental question that needs to be addressed by us is, and you could bring this back to the general fund as well, why are these budgets for considerable time in a row, years in a row, developing these kinds of surpluses? So I'd like to learn from the line items how, and some of it may be answered through a grant here that I don't know about, that's mixed in with the dollar amount, the $1,241,000 separate appropriation for highway. But I'd like to learn what budget line items are continually, or if they are, or if there's a pattern of being over to the tune of $100,000 a year in these budgets. So that is a question.
I will say that in personnel expenses, we did lose 2 people. So when two people resigned. So in our regular wage line, we're projecting that we're going to underspend by $31,000. We can't, when we create the budget at the beginning of the year, we don't know for sure that all people are going to be here. And when you save money on wages, you similarly save money on overtime, FICA, retirement, and insurance benefits, and workers' compensation and unemployment. So when you don't have 2 people working, that $31,000 in wages turns to $60,000 in overall expending less in personnel. So we're projecting that $60,000 of that is from personnel, $41,000 additional revenue from state aid to highway, and a grant. Those are 2 other things that we can't.
How much was the grant?
$38,414.
So that's important to break out of this net. So I'm not into talking about transferring money. I'm talking about learning where these come from. So in addition to the voter-approved highway budget, you received a grant of $38,000 above and beyond the amount of money. So isn't that, you must have to factor that into unless it was just as an above project that was done on top of the annual expenses. You must take that in consideration of having a net surplus of $142,000, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, there were 2 grants. One was for $20,000, the other was for $38,000. They're from 2020. Work done before June 30th of 2020. The reimbursement didn't happen until 2021.
I think that was a posting error. And I think
20,000?
that covers receivables that we had on the books.
Yeah, I didn't include that here. I did not include the $20,000 here.
Sorry.
I think the 38 was also a misposting.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Okay. So there's $38,000 less that we have to deal with there.
In the line?
Yeah, I'm just learning that right now.
Okay. what I want to do is gather up these, this is why I keep cautioning people about the year end is not quite here, and about these things, about what we can do and can't do. For instance, one of these appropriations is going to take the $50,000 that was in the paving line for 21-22 and use it, and use an additional $50,000, right? In that's already located in the, I mean, we're gonna see a little bit later on here, this paving project is $136,000. So
Yes.
it's not 50 here and 50 there and 90, it's a total of 136. So it's not, so it's coming from 3 different sources of funding, and
It's coming from 2.
well, it's coming from reserve, and then the anticipated new year, and an additional transfer from surplus.
No reserves. So in order for us to use this funding next year, we would transfer it to reserves and then pull it out of reserves in FY22. So it's going into reserves and then it's coming back out.
Well, no, but it's coming from 2 financial years.
Yeah, from this year, and
Yeah.
we didn't spend $50,000 in paving this year.
When we talked about the paving, before you got on board, Dave, we talked about the paving budget, and the board agreed and set an amount of $50,000 to put in for paving, and that was gonna be allowed to be built up. And the way they were gonna build it up is if I didn't do 50,000 in 2021, there'd be a vote and a discussion, if the money was still in there, to move it to the capital reserve for highways, and then take it out, put it towards the 50,000 that's in there for the following year.
But we did that even last year when I was here. So we took the total fund balance. We didn't keep any money, and we didn't allocate any of the $117,000 fund surplus from the year before. And that's
I totally agree with you, Dave. I think
that's a big deal for me, financially,
Right.
from like being the hawk of finances in the town, to take the entire fund balance and of any one year in one account and not apply any to property tax relief, but to simply put it in reserves. It's a big deal. So I think we have time. I think we have time to discuss this for another meeting. Let the year end settle down, don't want any surprises. You just said you just learned something.
I did.
I know I learned a bunch today, and the bid is what it is. I think they held an opening anyway, which we can get onto a little bit here further on. Are there any other questions about highway? About Brandon's report, at least for anticipated year end?
So if that, what we just learned, that 36,000, what we would do is just subtract it from the 142. So we're still looking to deal with over $100,000 in fund balance. Solid waste.
Yep.
So year-end solid waste revenues are projected at $301,000. There's still an outstanding bill from Downers Four Corners for I think $14,000. So.
It's still an
outstanding bill, so we've billed them and we're just waiting to receive that, and as long as we will receive it, our revenues would be around $301,000. Our expenses are projected at $295,000, a total net of $5,896.
It's been a few weeks that I've heard at the transfer station that the store doesn't have any tickets to sell. So there's a problem. And that the attendants have been on the honor system about they're coming in with stuff and then they're saying they're giving you an IOU for like next week. So we need to collectively come together about the thought process about how tickets are sold, what is going on, or where. Now, I know that, for instance, the stores, I think this is just a walkthrough, so there's no benefit to the stores to provide this service to us. And I don't know how to handle that. But it's a really valuable service, and I don't know whether to cut them in a little bit. I want people to develop ideas about what to do. Yes, do you have a question?
Yeah, well, I have maybe an idea that would work is if rather than build the stores for these things and have them selling them on their own, why don't we just put them in there like a consignment deal and they pay us for what they sell?
I don't know I don't know, the stores are obviously owned by one conglomerate, you know, and so they're probably hard to reach. Like you pick up the phone, you're gonna get some dial or something. So I don't know how they work. I don't know how the system is right now between the relationship upstairs about how they hand out tickets or not. I believe I remember years ago where it was either Jiffy Mart or Sunoco or maybe even the Scottney Market had sold some of these, and then they didn't really like all of the happenings around it, so they just decided, we're out of this. Because it is a headache, kind of. If you're not making any money on a product, you're not a store in business, right?
Right.
So so in other words, if the town isn't selling the tickets to the stores for $3 and then let them charge $3.50, there's no wherewithal for the stores to do anything for us.
I guess it's just one of these things where it's hard to ask somebody to put out 14,000 at once,
Yep.
regardless of the entity.
Yep. Yep.
Just for us, and then they'll be sitting on it rather than us. And I think
But-
if we share that burden, it would be more easy.
But we've had 2 weeks in the last month where they're out of tickets or they didn't do it, and people end up over at the transfer station, ticketless with trash. You have a question, Olivia?
It is more of a statement. It is on the stores. It's their responsibility to get a hold of us, say we're getting low, and then they get a hold of us and we send them. I think so. That's pretty much the process as it is right now.
And we do give them the tickets first, and then they pay us later.
Mm-hmm.
They don't write us a check.
But there's no advantage for the store to do any business at all for us, other than to get more people in the store to buy their products. You understand what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
If it's a $3.50 to $3.50 walkthrough, then if I was a store owner, I'd say, I don't need to do this for you. Why? I'm not
It
making.
does
money.
bring in traffic, though, because people got to go get a punch ticket, so
No,
they
I
have
know.
their soda and...
Anyway, I just know that there's a hole, and when people go over to the transfer station and say, I couldn't buy a ticket, but here I am anyway.
It was only happened once in the last month, not twice. It was one.
Oh, what?
It was one weekend and Wednesday.
Somebody told me both. Oh, 2 different days.
Correct.
Are there any other comments about the solid waste year-end potential? I know, at least from the last information I had, Brandon and Paul had reached an agreement with West Windsor to work things out. There was a little concern that might not happen, but I believe that has happened now, and that is very, very good news for the relationship between our towns, between the future. We don't want people to leave. On the other hand, we just want to be equal to whatever the 3 towns, Reading, West Windsor, and Weathersfield, use the system. So,
I will say that a newspaper article was published on the Vermont Standard over the weekend, and this article was written prior to us coming to an agreement, but there was still a lot of disagreement with that, and we went back and forth, and
Bottom line is yes, Dave. Well, I'm going to mirror your comments exactly. I feel that we've come to a pretty decent agreement as far as what the end goal is going to be. West Windsor is definitely willing to work with us, and they don't want to lose the transfer station any more than we want them not there. So,
right.
So that's all. This is good, and they did. I mean, I think Brandon's got some stuff in here later to talk about this, so I don't want to get too far into it. But yes, very good. Very good relations.
It is, yeah. Okay, any more questions on solid waste portion of budgets? Yeah, anyways. Okay, let's go back to highway then, right, to go to Kendrick Corner. There's...
So, after holding several site visits on Kendrick's Corner Road and speaking to residents, we believe that there was an urgent and compelling case to prioritize paving on this road. Again, if the board doesn't agree with that, then we can take a look at other paving projects. But from our standpoint, we thought it would be worthwhile to put out an RFP, so on May 5th we did that. We advertised an RFP to pave Kendrick's Corner Road. We held a pre-bid conference right down here on May 18th at 10 a.m. Bids were received on June 4th at 2 p.m. Bids were opened on June 7th at 2:30 publicly. Several of the contractors were there. The town clerk was there. We read the bids aloud. The town clerk certified the receipt and opening of all 4 of these bids. Basin Brothers came in at $148,000. Blanchard came in at $251,000. Pike Industries, which is the low bidder, came in at $136,000, and Springfield Paving came in at $144,000. So again, as we've already discussed, we've recommended transferring $86,371 from this year's fund balance to capital reserves. And then what we would do is we'd pull that money out of reserves in FY22 and combine it with the $50,000 that's allotted for paving next year to be able to award Pike Industries the paving project. So based on this information and based on us feeling like this would be a good project, I made a couple of recommendations. But as Dave has stated, and I would also like to see the audited fund balance as well, because I know the auditors will come in a lot closer. Maybe, I don't know if you guys can decide.
Does did the bids have I'm not opposed to the project, by the way. I'm opposed to the financing package of the project, which is different. And did the dates, did you, on the specific RFP, did it say that there was a expiration date of the numbers? Do you recall that?
Let me take a peek.
2022 fiscal year.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, it was for summer.
One vendor wanted to know if they could come in after July 1st as soon as possible because they are in the area, and that's why they came in at a certain price, because they have equipment in the area.
Yeah. And here's another thought. I thought we were going to be talking about tax rates tonight too, but so it appears to me that we're going to have another meeting prior to our first meeting in July anyway, because we need to get on with our life as far as collecting money, and the new tax bills are going to go out. So that's not going to be talked about tonight. So there's going to be another meeting there, and then another meeting dealing with potential of the thinking process through the ARPA funds. So we're not going to be absent of meetings to be talking about topics. So this one, I would like some more information about financing, about what the board chooses to do, whether it wants to take a loan out or pay cash for the whole thing like is being asked to do or not. I'd like to hear some more highway conversation.
I just have one statement on the loan. To me as a taxpayer, not as a highway guy, if we have the money, if it does shake out that we have $36,000 or $86,000 in the budget to do it, not taking out a loan, I would recommend doing it. Only because if we take out a loan, that's going to be a tax increase to pay that loan back. You have to have tax dollars to pay the loan back.
I would never make that leap, because you would have to jump into the budget process a little better than that, and I have a lot more experience doing that. You'd be allocating the loan to payments back, but I have yet to see a list of what the anticipated highway expenses would be other than this. That's my point. I don't know the needs of the highway department other than this particular one paving project. We're taking a lot of money and we're just saying, okay, look, and you gotta go back a year.
Yeah.
We took $50,000 of a surplus that was generated by line items other than paving, and we decided to allocate it towards paving a year ago. Now we're talking about doing that with an even bigger amount. We're choosing here. We're picking and choosing here.
Well, we're just putting projects before the board to decide on. And this is one of the projects that we've reviewed from a management standpoint and decided to act on with an RFP.
No, and I appreciate the RFP. That's why I asked about the dates, about what this number was good for, the dates, because if it wasn't, well, then you'd have a little bit more emergency. But I just heard that it was through the 22, and we're going to make a decision before that.
Yeah.
But it's good for the summer.
This wasn't a spur of the moment decision that Brandon and I made. I've been working on this for 2 years.
It's not the decision that I'm concerned about. It's the finance package.
I do want to note that our auditors are coming this week. and next week to do a couple of pre-audits on our books. And at that point, I think they'll be able to assist me with potentially making a more finer year-end projection. We believe that we're really close, but they may be able to either confirm or deny that. So I think they'll be here Wednesday.
Any other questions about this particular one? We just keep this information at least frozen for, I don't know, a couple of weeks.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the individual bids, and I'm
Yes.
looking at where it says lump sum for entire project. On the Pike bid, it says 138,321, and on the Springfield paving bid, it says 140,981
Where are you at?
on the individual bid sheets.
Okay, you're going down.
Yeah, I went down further.
Yeah.
My question is, the number, why does the lump sum for entire project number not match the total
What's on the bid sheet?
of what's up top? Yeah.
Because if you look at the fine print, Springfield paving bid on less tons.
Oh,
but
Okay.
they're
There you
per
go.
ton, so I went through the whole thing and said 1,880 or 1,800 or 1,700 tons of pavement at 67 or 67.82. Same thing with shoulder material.
Yeah.
They didn't bid on the exact amount, they gave a price per ton, and then they estimated X amount of tons. To make it the same all the way across the board, I said 1,800 and something tons plus 8,400 square feet or 8,800 square feet of reclaiming
Mhm.
or grinding.
Yep.
So they were all bid the same. Because if you didn't do that, then it would look like they.
Gotcha. So you adjusted it so it's
Correct.
the
I
amount
adjusted,
that was
adjusted it by the estimated tons and square yardage, so everybody was at the same price. per
Did
yard.
you do that when they were there? Did they have a chance to go over that?
Yes, they did their price per ton, and that's what they gave, and then I called people and said, this is what I'm doing, and I need to know your square, your per ton in place for shoulder material. And they gave me the number of $44 and something, and one guy was 36 something, and I was just doing the math backwards.
No, I know that, but sometimes you can get, like, we've gotten into quite a battle with solid waste.
No, it was really clear, it was tons of paving.
Oh, no,
shoulder
I get what
material,
you,
and reclaim.
no, I completely understand what you said, but I'm just asking whether you did that with the contractors present in order for them to defend however they.
I called them to verify their numbers.
Okay.
I see what you did. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay,
I wonder why the difference.
I don't know the answer to that.
That's, contractors can do that sometimes, they get look better, the bottom line looks better.
And you know what, there's no decision, at least at this particular moment, so if you have other questions, which I'm not sure, I haven't had a close answer to look at this close, but I just want to make sure the contractors had an opportunity to say, do you know that your project costs 144, 317? I mean, why in the world is one at 251?
Retired, I guess.
I don't know. Wanted something. Let's go to transfer station update. What's that?
Paul's hands up.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question, Ray. I don't want to add more work to you, and I know that we don't have a representative on your group yet, but for me personally, I'd like to see what the vision and the plan is for the town and town roads. In other words, Kendrick's Corner, yeah, sure, I understand that. We did Center Road last year. I mean, what is the list of, in hierarchy, top 3 to hit? When is the Center Road obviously won't be for years again, hopefully, but what is the rotation of these things? I'd like to see a roadmap,
Right.
no pun
And
intended,
it does
of
change
the roads.
rapidly because you have roads
Well,
you're trying to keep good, and then roads are deteriorating. and
Absolutely, but like to Dave said, from a financial standpoint, like if we're gonna spend all our money on something, is it the right thing to spend all the money on right now? I mean, it seems it, and I trust you guys more than me, I'm not a road guy, but I would just like to know, like, what's the second hitter then, if that's the number one in town right now, and see, that's all.
We've had these conversations before when we've gone into, for instance, the Center Road.
Yeah.
And the Center Road, we did all at one shot because we took a bond out and a loan to pay for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So there are times when these loans really make sense to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because they're a long-term
Yep.
use of funds. On the other hand, we've done it in the general fund before, when we had the money and we felt as a board to buy a new police cruiser, and then we paid for that.
Yeah.
I fully understand the amount of
Absolutely.
whether you're not a person with loans and about interest on loans, but the interest doesn't matter, it's the principal.
I'm just wanting to learn more about where we were at.
I want to make a public service announcement right now. People that have a road that's bad, that isn't being paved, and they see that Reservoir Road or Stoughton Pond Road and the Airport Road are getting resurfaced because it's a grant for a Class 2 paving, and those are Class 2 roads. And we have three choices. You have Airport Road, Reservoir, Stoughton Pond, which is one road, and Center Road. I can't use it on Sunset or Riley or any place else. It has to be a Class 2 road. So we were granted $176,000 for Class 2 paving. So we're gonna resurface the Airport Road and the Stoughton Pond Road if we can get it under that price.
Good to know.
Just a public service thing, so people understand that.
Yeah, thank you.
And Dave, I'm sorry, but if I can just say one quick thing about the budget and the surplus. When I first took over 3 years ago, I told the town manager that I was gonna give it 5 years of analyzing the budget before I made any drastic changes. I got 2 years left. It is something I am keeping an eye on. There's a lot of things that we've done to increase productivities, reduce salt and reduce overtime and whatever we can do to help. My goal is to move monies around in the budget and put it where it's needed before we make any drastic cuts. I just don't want you to think I'm not thinking.
No, but when we talk about people leaving, and then Brandon, he'd already told me that he didn't have any applicants yet. I am learning a bunch about what the workforce is commanding for pay. And that always has to be looked at to keep people to work. And so when you bring somebody in new, you can't pay them more than the people that are already there. You'll start the biggest mess that you've ever gotten in. So, but that's not to say that we're constantly, I think we should be constantly looking at whatever people that we have that are working here, and then also listening to what the outside is paying. And it's just a natural thing.
Anyway, thank you for the time.
Let's go to transfer station. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank both Brandon and Paul for making this happen, because I wasn't as concerned as I was concerned about the structure of trying to be equal between the three towns. And the dates of payments were less concerning to me because we had a whole year to try to figure that out. And so they have met. It's been a process. And I like it that, like I said earlier, that we're going to work with West Windsor, because I think there are other things that we can work on, particularly the mountain, where we can share opportunity to get together. So with that, I'll give it over to either Brandon or Paul or whoever wants to take this.
As you saw, Brandon did put in a letter here to the board. Basically, we held several discussions with West Windsor since our June 7th meeting. West Windsor Select Board Chair Edwin Johnson and team have decided to move forward to enter an allocation in their budget for the transfer station use for the fiscal year 2022. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it was good. We had a meeting the other day, and they're definitely willing and want to work with us. It's been a bumpy road, but that's how things get done. So obviously there's no guarantee that the voters will vote everything in, but they're gonna push that forward. Now their cycle's off a little bit from ours, just so they've had their meeting already, and we kind of weren't able to get it in for this year, but they made a commitment to put it in for the next year. So yeah, I'm gonna say it's good. I don't know what.
Yeah, so our fiscal year 22 begins on July 1st. Their fiscal year 22 begins on January 1st.
Right.
They vote their budget in March of 22, 3 months after they start their budget that the select board adopts. So in January of 22, they actually live with a budget until March before the voters approve it in March.
And just
they may do that in a responsible way. I'm sure they do. But We're not 100% sure what the allocation will be. We believe it'll be between $30,000 and $35,000. We still have to agree on the allocation formula, but we do have a commitment that they're going to put this into their budget for their fiscal year 22. Then the voters will have to vote on it and approve it. There's a lot of positive feedback on them wanting to pass this in their budget, so I'm pretty hopeful they will.
You can go right into the next subject on this too, because it deals with the stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
It's all tied together, so let it go.
But we are working a lot better together.
I just want to make one quick comment on that. In order in the letter here, though, but one of the things that we need to really make sure that we do going forward too is continue to enforce the permit stickers at the transfer station. Obviously, we've seen how that enforcement, as painful as it is in the beginning, has increased the revenue and made sure that the people that are taking advantage of it are paying for it. So, and that was one of the things West Windsor, I just wanted to state, was they really wanted to make sure that we were going to continue to do that.
Do you know if, when they vote on this, if this is going to be a separate article on something they vote on, or is it going to be a part of their actual budget? So in other words, are they going to be able to say yes or no to having this allocation separate from
I'm pretty
everything
sure
else?
they're going to enter it into their budget and vote on it that way, but I'll have to get clarification on it and get back to you. It may be on a separate article, I don't know.
But for now, the procedure will be that they continue to buy stickers at the set price that we have.
Yep.
And then they pass them along to their residents, right?
It'll be $75 per permit sticker between July 1 and December 31st
For us to charge them?
for us to charge them.
Now, why the difference?
Because what they're looking to do is charge their residents $100 per permit sticker. So if their allocation to the town of Weathersfield is $35,000, or we'll just use $30,000 as a number, they're gonna pay us $30,000, and they're gonna turn around, and in order for the residents to obtain a permit sticker, that resident will have to come to the town office and pay $100 for each of the permit stickers. What they're looking to do is create a system to where only the residents in their town that use the transfer station pay for the transfer station. So what they do is pay the $30,000 up front, and in their budget they'll put a revenue line of $20,000. They'll put an expense line of $30,000, and then they'll try to get that money back in revenue and net $10,000.
I think just I see you guys' face over there. I think what needs to be focused on is the fact that we're looking at this from a standpoint of we're gonna get a payment for services, basically, regardless of how they're deciding. If I don't care what they charge for their stickers, for West Windsor to be using the transfer station based on percentage of population, household, people, however we're gonna figure it all out. Reading, down West Windsor, Weathersfield, we're gonna get an allocation of money, if regardless of what they're gonna do. The end result is this value that hasn't quite come to fruition yet, but 30,000, 35,000, give or take, whatever. That's the money that we're going to get. If they, however they politically handle their deal, that's.
Who comes here to buy stickers from West Windsor? The town office?
The town clerk.
Okay. So when they buy one sticker, we charge them $50?
$75. Right now we charge them $65, but they've requested that we increase that to $75. And our standpoint, and from this, what we heard in the select board meeting in the last
Don't
meeting.
complain.
Yeah.
No, I'm just.
We don't need to micromanage the way that they. We don't need to
They're not
micro.
making money off our dump stickers.
No,
They're trying to recoup
I'm seeing this situation arise that it's going to double the cost for the people that are using it in West Windsor. And if I live in West Windsor and my cost to use the dump in Weathersfield is going to double, I'm going to vote it down. and we're gonna get through maybe 1 year, and then we're gonna be hung. And so we're kicking this can down the road a year, I'm afraid. I really would like,
Well, it's not.
if it works for them, I think we should do the same thing, I'll say that.
And like we've stated before, if we do the same thing, the transfer station will not survive.
So,
That's
no.
not true.
It's not true if we pay per as we go at the transfer
No,
station.
because we're already gonna be asked here in the next sentence to keep ponying up $50 for every single Weathersfield resident, which means
Right,
it's
so,
11 bucks.
so why not
Dave,
charge $100 to just the people that use it and we
Dave.
get our allocation?
We didn't want to micromanage, and we don't micromanage Reading. They give us an allocation, we give them permit stickers. So once we have this equal payment formula, based on the same formula, the same amount of parcels and so forth, West Windsor's share will be based on that formula. We give them their stickers, they allocate them to their town the way they deem appropriate. And maybe we'll learn which system works best.
But here's what I'm learning for the first time. And it seems like whenever we get into discussions, I learn something for the first time. I just learned that we're charging West Windsor $65 for a ticket.
That was in
Sticker.
the,
I thought they were paying the same as Weathersfield.
No.
It was 50. Did you?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
assumed.
Okay, good. Then I'm not alone.
But West Windsor only pays for tickets, they don't pay
No, no, no.
per household at all.
No, I'm talking about stickers now.
Yeah, just
That's
sticker
not,
price.
the punch cards are all
That's what I'm saying,
$3.50.
they only
Yep.
pay for window
Stickers.
stickers.
Yes.
They don't have a assessment fee.
So if we're trying to get to a system though, that is the same for everybody, wouldn't it make sense from a farmer that everybody pay 50? 50, 50, 50? I don't care where you live, it's 50.
The thing we're trying to do is come up with a equation to use to come up with how much each town gets charged to pay their percentage.
You gotta look at the total
Yeah, you
at the
can't.
end, not each individual.
Well, that's why I asked you 2 weeks ago, how many parcels are in West Windsor? How many parcels are in Reading?
Right.
How many parcels are in Weathersfield? You had it all down, you added it all up, it's like 1,800, cumulative total, all three.
yep.
You take the $113,000 that it takes to run the transfer station as that's what it is, without the punch cards now, and you divide that by the number of total parcels in Weathersfield, Reading, and West Windsor, and you came up with what, $42 a sticker?
Yeah, but the town of West Windsor does not want to do it that way.
It's crazy, I don't know, I'm with you.
Yeah,
Because what you told me a minute ago, that if they're gonna charge me 100, but then I'm gonna find out that Weathersfield was 42, if you're trying to get into an even playing field and it's 100 yards, you're making me go 150.
Yeah. It's- I still
don't- I
don't see
don't-
that as fair and equitable, guys, for,
Well, it's a fair and equitable formula to pay for
to
the,
your budget, but not to the people that are paying to use the dump.
but
Okay, so
in Weathersfield, we can't tell West
can't
Windsor how to
dictate
charge
another
their,
town.
their town.
What we can dictate, or what we can say is, we have a transfer station in our town. What is it gonna cost for another town to use our transfer station?
The same as my town. That's what I would answer that question as. And
Okay, well, how much does our town? how much
$50.
No. Hold on, sorry, it's not, that's just for the transfer sticker itself.
That's
How
all I'm
many
talking
people?
about.
How many people, okay, well, then we can tell West Windsor that every resident needs to pay $50 regardless of whether they use the transfer station or not.
Just like in Weathersfield.
And
Well, that's what we're
if you wanna
basing
make,
the allocation off of. So the allocation they give us will be based on that formula. And then we give them stickers. And then from there,
Then they
They're
manipulate
work-
what you're doing into doubling the charge. You're doing the same thing. You're going to
We're
charge
not
the people
doubling
twice
the
as
charge.
much. No, but they are going to do that, and it's going to make a negative image on our dump, and people are going to stop using it and vote it down, and then we're going to be hung.
And
That's what I'm seeing.
And I
happening.
hope they're not using the reasoning by just learning again information that they're gonna charge their residents $100 to build up their surplus because they're fronting the $30,000. That, I hope Weathersfield is not demanding $30,000 up front. I don't wanna
it
do
was
that
too-
to
it
them, to
was
put
too-
them in a corner
it
to say
wasn't-
that.
It wasn't all up front.
You owe us.
It was
So
half.
if they're reasoning, when you're in front of the voters, saying that, oh, Big Bad Weathersfield is making us pay $100 a sticker, okay, then I'm gonna raise my hand in West Windsor, and I'm gonna say, well, what is Weathersfield paying? Oh, they're only paying 50.
It's not that.
but
We're not telling them to pay per sticker, we want an allocation.
Weathersfield is asking them to pay
Better be
$30,000
an
to
allocation.
$35,000.
We don't pay for stickers,
If they're,
But Weathersfield pays by the sticker.
that's how we formulated it, yes.
Right.
well, let me ask this, what would you like us to go back and do, and what would you like us to say? July 1st is right around the corner.
I know, and I know that they have
So-
different anniversary dates.
What would you like to do?
I would have said that if we're gonna set our sticker, which is Brandon asking for tonight for the $50, then we're gonna end up with my prediction is we'll end up with a, oh gosh, $20,000 surplus in the sticker alone generated fees for the and coming at an end of a year for the transfer station. Then we'll be flush with money because Reading will say, West Windsor will say we're going to anticipate spending $30,000 in front, and Weathersfield's going to have to pay the $50 per parcel on every parcel. So they're still going to pay the $80,000 for this next year, financial year coming up. We're about ready to set, I guess. We don't have to set it tonight.
So the fixed cost of the transfer station is $110,000.
Yep.
In revenue, it's
And Weathersfield
$77,300.
Weathersfield for financial year 21-22 is by the research that you've just got in front of us, setting the sticker fee at $50 is going to pay $80,000 of that 110.
$77,300,
Yep.
$18,635 in Reading, and $15,000 in West Windsor. They're still going to be in fiscal year 21 until December 31st of this year. They don't go to town meeting until March. So what we've projected is $15,000 in revenue, 200 residents at $75 a ticket. That's basically what they've been buying is around 200 tickets. So you come up with $110,935.
So their people that are buying stickers are not the entire parcel base of West Windsor.
It wouldn't be here either. We just
Well, yes, it is here. We force Weathersfield to pay.
Yeah, and they get to pay just if they're going to use it $100. If they're going to get to do that, I want to do that.
You want to pay $100?
No, I'm not going to pay a thing because I don't use it. If that's the way it's going to be in another town, you should be adding up all these parcels and dividing the cost
Why?
evenly.
What
Because that's fair and equitable. So if
what-
it evens out to $42, I'm going to vote to make our sticker fee $42, and that's the way it's going to be.
Okay,
For me.
so then I'll sell, then what will happen is you can sell to West Windsor for $42. You can't dictate what they're gonna sell it to their residents for.
Nope.
Nope.
But at least the argument would be made on the floor of the town meeting that Weathersfield's not making any money off the town. We're doing it as a courtesy.
we're not
of
making
42
money off the town.
Yeah, you did. You just told me that we're selling it to them for $65, but we're only charging Weathersfield $50.
But that's not, you
It's
gotta
not
look at the
making money
total
off of
numbers
that.
at the
I don't
end of the
think we're
thing,
looking at this
Dave.
right.
I don't understand your logic.
I think traditionally,
What?
it's always been tied to a window.
Just what I
decal.
said.
We need to step away from the whole window decal charge. It's a
Right,
assessment
it's a
per parcel. People pay $50 per parcel
it's a set value at the end.
in our town, and that's what we're
You
trying to
guys
do.
may be having discussions that are in meetings that I don't attend. Because if we're talking about not having the window sticker though, and associate the window sticker with the fees, but that's how Weathersfield has done it for years,
Correct.
including those people with curbside.
So, and that's fine, Dave. I guess what I need, as the representative, and Brandon's gonna need, is what does the board wanna do? My recommendation is to go forward with what Brandon and I presented. If that is different than what the board wants.
I was gonna say, for the past 20 years, West Windsor's been paying $3,600 a year. We've been negotiating for over a year to increase. We just increased the allocation to nearly $35,000, and now we're sitting here. I don't know.
And
But I don't wanna be accused politically of, again, I'll go back on any day of the
Yep.
week on what I learned tonight or what I don't learn tonight.
Yep.
I learned tonight for the first time that we're selling stickers for more than what is in the town of Weathersfield. I learned tonight that West Windsor, as part of their process, and I agree that you can't determine what another town does, wants to sell their stickers, of which Weathersfield residents get in for $50, they're gonna sell them for $100. I agree with Joey. That will turn off a voter, unless, because I don't want to hear what they would say, what we're charging them, because if I'm a Brownsville resident and they're saying, well, Weathersfield's making money on us to do that. We make money on the punch tickets as well, to cover our cost of the compactor and other things.
so just give the stickers, just give the car stickers away for free and just raise the dump stickers. If that's what you say we make our money on, just give everybody, let anybody in, who cares? As long as they've got a sticker, as long as they've got a punch card to pay, who cares? right?
That would work as long as we don't get, which we have had in the past, recycling fees to dispose of them.
You make a recycling sticker, which was part of this.
Just for the discussion, this whole discussion with West Windsor and Reading and us has all been about trying to have a fair and equitable
Yes.
management of how we get paid. We based it on our $50 allocation, and let's just not talk about window decals. It's a $50 allocation per household in our town. Reading was doing it by an allocation in the taxes for $18,000 and change to give us. West Windsor decided that they were gonna do it by selling just the window decals for X amount of dollars, and that's how they were gonna pay. That wasn't working. So right now, we're trying to come up with a formula that we could stand behind and say it's fair for every town, either based on residents or based on
Households
how
or
many people
whatever.
or how many households,
And-
and do the math, and then say that's how each town owes, and fair and equitably. If
And that's-
West
and
Windsor
that's
decides
only
to
for a
charge
total
$100
number. That-
for something, then you can't stop that.
That's exactly like Dave was saying, for a total value of what the transfer station
Right,
is.
that's all we're trying
You
to
look at the
tackle.
3 towns that are using it right now, and what percentage does each town pay? Okay? And we came up with roughly 30 to 35,000 for West Windsor.
Everybody here does know this, though. Weathersfield residents don't seem to think that this is such a vital issue. It's a $50 bill on every single buddy's tax card.
Mhm.
There's lots of people that have curbside. They pay $40 a month. They don't even go to the transfer station.
It's
But they
based on-
pay the.
I don't have a kid in school anymore either, but I'm still paying
Right.
school.
No,
based on that theory.
but I'm listening to like the arguments before in the past about the other towns. Well, we want to exclude that curbs the
Well, I guess-
curbsiders.
Maybe West Windsor's onto something, and they can do this and get away with it and have it work. Maybe
Right.
it blows up.
Only
We don't know.
if they charge $100.
We don't know.
We don't do that.
I guess I need some help, Dave, I guess, from the board then, because we're gonna have to go back and tell.
When's
West
your
Windsor.
next meeting?
I'm not sure, Brandon, you know when our next meeting is?
don't.
No, I don't off the top of my head. We were gonna let him know how tonight went, but, you know, July 1st is what? Today's the 21st?
The way they're gonna go about things, I'm afraid our town is gonna be the bad guy, looking like the bad guy here, and they're, maybe a year or two down the road, you're gonna see less and less and less people from their town utilizing our dump.
If we spell out the formula for the allocation and have it written in black and white, and it's out there publicized, I don't know how we could.
What-
do that.
Unless we change Weathersfield's,
Yes.
where, like you just said, you don't use the transfer station,
So,
yet you pay your $50.
so Dave, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, one of the things that I stated, you said, no, that's not true. If we went to only the people that use the transfer station pay for a sticker, I'm from my limited 2 years worth of experience with working with this transfer station, it will not survive.
Unless you charge the $100 for sticker.
Right, and then people.
Oh, there you go,
back out.
sure.
If people back out, then
Sure.
you gotta charge 110.
Yep.
And then more people back out, then you gotta charge 120. The next thing you know,
So, so you see why it looks bad to charge $100 for a sticker then?
We're not, yes, okay. So then, like I said, I need some help and some recommendation on what to go forward with.
You'd have to find out how many people actually from Weathersfield take curbside.
What is it?
I don't know what it is. I
Yeah,
have
how
no
many
idea.
from Weathersfield take curbside and use the dump
That's
to
not,
know for sure? Well, yeah, you need to know for sure, because if you're gonna say that it's gonna fail, you don't know that, because
That's right.
it might be 75% of people from Weathersfield actually use the dump, and they're still gonna buy the sticker.
How
Or
many
it might be
stickers,
that
Steve, said?
20% of people that use the dump are from Weathersfield,
Oh.
and it's gonna fail.
You're right, I apologize, I don't have all the facts and data in front of me to make all these arguments, and we can sit here and go back and forth all night on what we personally think, without the data from either side. You're right, so I need a recommendation of what to do. July 1st is around the corner, and you think we're gonna look bad for charging $75, we shut that door. You think we'll look bad?
Do what?
You shut the transfer station off?
To who?
West Windsor, for July 1st?
No.
If we don't have something figured out, I don't know what you're gonna do. You don't like what's going on right now, so we can't leave it status quo, we can't leave it the way it is. We can't go with what we already decided. So I need.
I just don't want to revisit this to do like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't quite. There are people that have come to me in our own town saying, why do I have to pay for this? Because if you're gonna let another town, any other town, deal with curbside and a fee process, then why can't I?
No, absolutely, and I can see that argument.
But the budget is not, the proposal that's coming up here doesn't really reflect anything, because it's asking for a $50 sticker fee for Weathersfield again.
Because there's nothing we can do in this year until they go to town meeting. So we're basing it on the budget that was approved by the Weathersfield voters in March of this year.
And the only difference would be that the sticker is being enforced at the gate, where any person that comes in needs a sticker. They gotta go get it from somewhere.
Yeah, right, yep.
I don't care where. And any of the three towns, they'd either have to go to Reading or Brownsville to get a sticker to get in the door and pay the money.
Yep.
And that money is gonna come here sometime during the year.
Our only choice is to go ahead with what you have and keep a close eye. And if we went ahead with what you have here, but also go ahead with a study of what town people are from when they go to use the transfer station to look forward in another years, that's all we can do. That I see reasonably.
But are there stickers a different color from the other towns, or are they the same?
They're all three towns are the same.
Well, we're not, there is no urgency to set this sticker fee at this particular moment. And why that is because it's not going out on any tax bill, because we haven't set the taxes. We don't even have a timetable to do that, to go to print.
Sure.
Okay, it's 20 of 9. I think this is gonna be on the agenda for the next meeting again.
All right, so we're leaving it the way it is then, just status quo, correct?
Are we going to go to food waste or no for tonight?
Hey, you want to say, interrupt real quick?
Go ahead.
Weather alert, we got a
Yep.
really big band of thunderstorms coming through between like 10 and 10:30, just so we FYI.
No, we're gonna be way out of here before that.
Just want to give you an FYI.
We're never here that late.
Does does anybody want to talk about this food waste, or is that just gonna be,
Well, we had talked before about creating a single punch ticket for basically like $1 to get rid of the food scraps, because I think, Ray, you said it was about $8,000 we spent over the year, correct?
Right now it's 8,000.
Yeah, and I think everybody here had decided that like a single 350 punch was way too much, and
not me, I want it.
You want the 350 punch
Yes.
for food scraps?
Yes.
Size wise though, like, I mean.
Is there anybody that feels whatever, you understand now, the legislature made this thing for us to separate out food waste, right?
Yeah, but some people come with a little tiny bowl
That could
about
be.
yay big.
No, that could
They're
be.
gonna charge them $3.50 to dump that little bowl
That would
in
be,
that
that would
bucket.
be, that would be up to them to put it in a bag, of which would be then judged by the two operators. I wanna
Gotcha.
keep this transfer station simple.
Yeah.
The cost to me about having a whole nother ticket, we already argue here for hours about tickets and stickers and whatever, and who's left, who's on first, isn't the way to go. And that study we did that says add another guy to study the stickers on the windshields, no. For me, we don't have a scale. It's judged by the operators that come in there. So you could make the same case for somebody's got a 30-gallon construction bag or a 10-gallon.
Yeah.
Some people live with it, some people don't.
Right.
It's a punch ticket. I thought this could be administrative, that it didn't even need to come to us. We just lost $8,000 for garbage. I think that this is different than compactor. I think it's an added burden to handle this, and I think it deserves a cost. We do the same thing, folks, with tires.
Yeah.
Okay, a 15 to 16 inch tire, we charge one ticket for $3.50. The people that come in and take away the tires are $2.
They're the same.
No, they went to, not over to the contractors that I just talked to, then the town's getting the wool pulled over their eyes. Because they're charged $2 a tire to dispose of them. Just happened last week and the week before. So that's historically been the case of other things too in the transfer station. I mean, we make money on steel.
Yeah.
You get rid of it for free, but it gets out of here and you can make money on it. Batteries, same thing, all that stuff. I wanna make it simple for I don't know what the board wants to do. I'd make it simple for the two guys that work there. You know, to have them deal with a whole nother ticket and say, well, my bag is little and my bag is big, and I don't even know.
How is it gonna be simple if somebody showed up with a gallon Schwann's bucket and wants to dump it out, and you're saying 350,
Yep.
you're supposed to judge?
Yep. I'm sorry, but people will learn that in a hurry about what they're gonna judge for bags. But to have a whole new ticket with a whole nother dollar is that's way too much work for me.
Yeah, you only bring a small bag once. Second time it'll be big.
Exactly. And it's the same ticket. We're already having trouble with the store distributing tickets.
That's true too.
Does anybody want to set a fee or just let the administration handle this? I don't need to be involved. I thought if they're losing $8,000, it was a simple fix myself. Or does the board feel like they want to put a motion on the floor to fix it right now? We're running a deficit, and we've had a year under our belt to learn this. So it's been ongoing for a year now about this, about no fee. It's been free to get rid of.
The state just allows us to charge for it,
Okay.
basically.
Do I hear anything, or you just want to table it, or what's the board want to do?
If you let the administration handle it, then the administration can handle it. Come up with
They just had comments to pick from.
right, and they can do what they feel is right if that's what you direct them
That would
to.
be, but they also heard my comment about what I'd
That's
say.
your personal comment.
Yep, well, no, I'm a board member.
You are 1 out of 5, yep.
Yep, thank you for reminding me that.
No, you're welcome. And we can have a vote if you want.
I'm waiting for a motion.
I say just leave it the way it is. Charge them $350. Let's see what happens.
Does the board want to take any action on this item, or are we just gonna move on?
Move on.
Okay. Let's go back to highway to mechanic. I wish this all got plugged together with highway. We're jumping around. There was some information gathered, I guess, from, who did that, Brandon? Rosalie and Olivia?
Yep.
Do you want to talk about it, or you want to table it?
Table it.
Table. Disposing of town-owned equipment.
Is that the police car thing?
I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, disposing. Is that getting rid of?
Yes. I'm scrolling down to find out if there's any, is there any on this?
It's having to do with the air conditioners.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the shed that's sitting at the transfer station, there's been several offers on an old shed that was torn down, where the compactor is now.
That's not in here, but that's not on this document. Is it, where's that?
Transfer station.
That's a little different than this one. This one's air conditioner, so you're even talking about separate funds. What does the board, how many of these do you have, Brandon?
7.
7 of them. What does the board want to do?
7 air conditioners?
Sell them.
Wow, yeah,
I'll take one.
get rid of them.
Yeah, after today, I'll take 2. No.
Well, I mean, do you want to just, well, it says here to sell, but it doesn't say anything about a shed, so I'm gonna take this up separately. And
Can I ask a dumb quick question first? Is there any, like, I understand want to make money, but is there anybody that we know that we can donate? Like, is a school need, like, obviously they're not in session right this minute, but I mean, is there nothing for donation? Like,
I don't know about the school, but is there any other town building that's okay? Is the library okay and the town highway okay and whatever? Is there any other town building that needs anything? Okay. No, nothing at the library? Don't really know.
Library's good.
How about a motion on the table to sell the 7 used air conditioners as the administration sees fit to advertise?
So
I mean, you want to be kind of fair about this because you don't want to say you gave it to a board member. They're gonna, the talk is going to be secret deals.
I don't want one. I already have them. I was just joking, but
No.
I see. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but this gets crazy sometimes.
So,
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to authorize the administration to sell the 7 used air conditioners in a timely fashion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We didn't really warn any shed. I'm a little,
I'm sorry, Brendan, I thought that we.
yeah, I don't know if I want to do that yet, because that
Should've
could,
brought it up.
that could be useful for somebody's chickens or something. I mean, it might be a little bit more than you think.
The thought was put it out to bid for next time. And advertise it and make it fair.
I don't even know what it is, but sometimes those
It's
things,
the green shed that used to be where the compactor is now. It was torn down 4 years ago. It's been sitting over in the corner. There's only 11 trusses there, because the other trusses were used elsewhere.
it is torn down, or is it a, it's
It's all torn down.
oh, so
it's
that's a
not
lot
whole.
different. Oh, so
Yeah.
it's not a building.
No, it's a building that's been torn down and it's in pieces.
You have to
sitting
put
in
it
a pile.
together.
So it has the metal roofing and the walls and the doors and the trusses, 11 trusses.
Let's take that up at a different time. Solid Waste District appointment?
That was basically Brandon and I were gonna switch roles, at the solid waste district. I was gonna be the alternate, Brandon was going to be the full-time,
Do you need a motion to switch?
yes,
Okay.
please.
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
What is the motion? I'm sorry.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve Brandon as the Solid Waste District appointment, and then Paul,
Representative.
Representative.
then Paul as the alternate.
And just as background, the reason we did that was, Brandon got, at the last district meeting, Brandon got voted in for their executive group that they have there, and Brandon was the alternate, so he couldn't really be that, and those meetings are in the morning where I can't attend, so, that's why Brandon and I are switching our roles. And I can attend the normal session meetings, which are like 6 at night, so.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Personnel policy, this is a continuation of, a meeting or two ago, and is there any issues that the board or board members want to at least note? I don't want to get into a too in-depth discussion tonight, but I wanted to leave it on the table for a continuation about visiting the policies here. One of them,
The only thing I want to make a suggestion that floating holiday now become Juneteenth,
June.
since that's now a federal holiday.
they did vote on that?
Yeah, it's a federal holiday now.
So we have the list of holidays somewhere in here. I
Oh,
don't know
there it
where it is,
is.
I gotta scroll around. to
Page
find it.
19.
Yep, down at the bottom.
So, is that will be for, in the next financial year, or the next calendar year for the town, right? Because didn't that just happen?
Yeah,
Okay,
June 19th.
so, is there anything else other than the holiday, discussion? I see on page 17, I remember Joey, you brought this up for the opt-out about that. Again, I don't want to get into a lengthy discussion tonight, but it is a consideration that happens to be in this policy. I just wanted to keep it on the table, like I said before, but it's already like 7 of 9. So the holidays are all set for this year, is there any left in July here? No. Well, we're gonna begin a new year though.
Yeah.
Any discussion at all on this? A brief discussion? Any board members want to talk about anything else in the personnel policy for tonight? Let's go to work at home policy. Any discussion on that? Again, same thing, I wanted to keep this up there. My personal feeling is about working at home. Brandon drafted the telecommuting policy, okay? And it was a draft. I understand all about COVID-19 from my own personal or board comments, board member comment. I do understand the need from time to time to have an emergency work at home, whether somebody's sick or not. But I am also feel strongly about when you work for the public in the town, that your obligation is to be here in the office for a whole nother reason. I listened to a couple of channels on talk radio, and there's quite a discussion going on in the public sector about this as well. And they broke it down to be where it made some common sense to me, where single entities, where they dealt with for the most part, one thing, so a group of workers were like pulling the rope the same way, it was much simpler. Whereas where you had an office like we have, a structure where a question would come from some person, and then it would demand answers from maybe at least an additional office at the same time. And the answer would be, wait a minute, for the person that's asking the question. Then if you worked at home, you'd say, well, I couldn't connect with Fred, so he couldn't answer the question, and then, so I'll have to get back to you. Well, that made it harder to answer the question. So I think there's pros and cons to this, but I think when you're dealing with the public, my own perception is that unless there's a sickness, and that to me would be left up to the town manager who runs the office to grant somebody a little leeway and waiver, but in the job descriptions that we had, that for the most part, it meant that you came into the office to do the work.
Yep.
Are there any feelings the same way, or?
Well, given that we don't have a telecommuting policy, I'm pretty sure that we really do need to have one.
Oh, no, I
And
didn't.
the way this is written right now, I would adopt that tonight. I read it over a couple times.
Yeah, but I think it has to be done on the readings. So there's a first reading, a second reading.
Yeah, this is 3 readings, right, I think?
Is it the third reading?
Yeah,
No,
you
I meant-
weren't here.
For the second one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't follow
Did we
that.
talk about that last time?
I think we adjourned it though, because David wasn't here.
Or tabled it.
Tabled it, yeah.
Okay, maybe, yeah.
We moved on.
Yeah,
Okay,
We
so,
moved on with a few things because you weren't here.
okay, so why don't we, well, this doesn't say second reading, so why don't we I'll do some research on this, or maybe Olivia can, about finding out whether there's, what time it started on the agenda to whether or not whether it was done in the formal process of adoption. Normally, we go through 3 readings. So what Steve just said about the credit card thing as well. I'm not saying that we don't need your point that you made.
No, I'm just saying that it looks good to me,
Okay.
regardless. So.
Is there any other discussion about the work at home policy? Nothing? The ARPA discussion, as I mentioned earlier, there's a great deal of funds that are coming in the town. And I would like to have a regular meeting just designated when we learn more about that, about trying to figure out what is the best use of those funds. There's gonna be 2 rounds of funding. I think maybe the first one may have just hit the town. If it hasn't, it's going to. I think the first round was, I don't know if it's in here, but I think the first round was like $250,000, $273.
yeah, 273.
So that to me warrants a meeting in and of itself, so we don't get bogged down with these other things. So I'd like to table that. The 2014 purchase and sales agreement, I don't know whether all of you got this notice or not, but it is very critical that you all make time for the June 29th Board of
Tuesday, yep.
Board of Abatement meeting.
It's not tomorrow? I thought it was tomorrow. Sorry.
So the question is this, that what if the board, if anything, would like to be given to either the chair of the Board of Abatement, Mike Stankovich, or Flo Ann, the town clerk, or nothing, in preparation of that meeting? As you know, or we all know as board members, that we were given an in-depth, at least a 50-page report from Brandon outlining from the beginning to at least to where it is today, the status of the property. The owners have decided to ask for an abatement at this time, which that hearing will be held on the 29th. But since then, the town has received an attorney letter from them, which I think has has complicated it a little bit. And so I don't envision any action being taken out of that meeting. I didn't think that one meeting would be solving this problem anyway, because it's gone on for years, and I think that that meeting at least will organize the process for a series of Board of Abatement meetings, at least to be heard. I would really like it for us to go and notify each member who is eligible to be on the Board of Abatement and say this, and I don't mean to be dramatic. This is the most serious meeting in Weathersfield history. I would like conclusion, and I would like consensus. I don't want a split vote, no matter what we do. It'll be in the bad interest of the town. So I would like the board's support in drafting a letter to each member of the Board of Abatement and asking them that this is their time. This is their job to hear this case. You can't come in after the first meeting. You must be present at the first meeting. Yes.
I just wanted to make sure, Kelly, did you get that packet? Okay, well, let's make sure that at least Kelly gets that packet. It was
report.
The report, yeah, that the select board got.
Yep.
It was a lot of good information,
Yep.
actually. I mean, it was
history, it's
yeah,
minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will the other group see that as well?
Who
The
defined?
abatement crew?
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I'm asking this board
Right.
whether or not
I see what you're saying.
we should provide that. I'm happy to do that.
Oh,
We had it in an open discussion with Brandon months ago. He gave us that report and the outline of the entire report. And so I don't object to that either.
I think they all should see it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't
I
seen
have
it,
no
but I
problem.
think it's only fair
Well-
that they know what's been going on since the beginning.
Yep. I don't have a problem with disclosing whatever the information. Like I said, it was
Open.
it was brought out in an open warrant meeting, and it's been done a few times now. We've been trying to talk this through. I think there are two decisions that are coming down the road. One from the Board of Abatement, but another one from us. As I read what's happening, I read this, and I could be wrong. The Board of Abatement will not be able to make any decision, given that there's still some outstanding information to be gathered. Another appraisal,
I make a motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I believe there's going to be, the burden is going to fall on us, being the administrative body of the town. I believe the Board of Abatement will go through this hearing, and they will listen, and they will get this report, and they will review documents and look at it. But there's still an outstanding appraisal to be done, and then another appraisal on top of that appraisal that's going to have to be done. So the initial question is going to come, who's going to be paying for these? It's going to fall back on us to say, are we willing to pay another at least $4,000 apiece for appraisal work done? To add on to the already expended $27,000.
Is there more than one piece of land?
No,
It's all one piece?
yeah, one deed. Yeah. Yeah. So there are still some outstanding questions, but I think there's gonna be two bodies that are gonna have to make decisions. One would be the Board of Abatement, and then it's gonna come back to us for another thing. Anyway, what I'm trying to get to is, I really wanna I know we want a final decision. I don't want it to be a split decision, and if you miss the first meeting, you cannot come in again.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion to give that information to them, or just?
I don't think a motion, I think
We'll just hand it to them, yeah,
We'll
or
we'll
send
make
it out.
sure, Brandon and I will draft a letter saying that the urgency of this it's your duty, you were elected as justice of the peace. I think the listers are part of this, I think the treasurer is, I think the town clerk is. We'll get a formal, outline of who is the judge. That's what we are, we're judges, about this, so. That's all I have to say about that. So, that's the 29th, so please mark your map, mark your calendars for that.
Already did. I was confused.
I asked Brandon to put this on there, to set a public hearing date for the what has been a zoning map, discussion and an enormous amount of work in the making from the planning board. through regional planning and their group at the planning board to do this. Now, so can I have when we're gonna be meeting, for instance, I think this has to be done legally, and I think we have to have it has to be going out to a warning of 20 or 30 days or something. Can I have the second meeting date of July, of when we're gonna regularly meet?
July 19th.
July 19th. Are you still gonna be here, Brandon, or no?
Yeah, I'll still be here.
Is that when you're out, or you're here? Okay. Can the board tentatively set a public hearing date to adopt the zoning, it's 2017 zoning map? I think that's what you guys are titling it in the planning board?
Oh, is it? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Dave, I don't remember that.
I think so.
2017,
I think you've been
2018.
working on it for a while.
No, we have, I just don't remember the date, I'm
Through-
sorry.
Through
17.
regional planning.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be an updated zoning map.
Basically, we're adopting the future land use map that was
Yes.
already adopted by the town.
Yes, sorry, and that was adopted by regional planning
Yeah.
and the planning board.
And the voters voted it in, it's in the town plan.
Town plan.
Yeah, the future land use map.
Yes.
With a couple of, with some definitions and things with the zones areas a little bit, so.
Can I have that as a motion, please, to adopt that to set a public hearing date for the zoning map changes
moved.
on July 19th? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Done. Okay, we did the appointments. If there's anything in the proposed agenda items, just email me or call me or whatever you want, if anybody has any ideas. I do know that we're gonna have to have a separate meeting just as soon as we have the information from the education tax to set our tax bills. We have not voted here as a group to break from the schedule, to have our first payment due on August 10th. If we want to do that, which we did a year ago, we made it September 10th when the first quarterly tax payments are due. But we also need to think about how much time it takes to go to the printers and to allow people time. I would think a reasonable amount of time is 30 days to get your bill, like any other bill that you get, to do that. Now, for me, when we learned about all these alleged surpluses in the general fund or the highway fund, we need to put that in perspective. If we're gonna delay our tax bills another month, that hurts the bottom line on operating money that's coming in. We were told that a year ago. That's why I'm not in any rush to go transferring monies yet. So if we're gonna delay our tax bills another month, we're gonna be in the same predicament we were a year ago. So we get ready for another meeting, maybe next week or whenever. Are the listers done with the grand list?
They haven't notified me.
That is a holdup, and the educational, but John Harrison told me that all this is done, Dave. He's a House Committee member. He said that when they adjourned, that they had the educational tax rate set, they had the non-residential rate set, everything was set. So it's done. That was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, we're gonna have to have another meeting for that before the next, the July meeting. Can we do warrants?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the warrant for June 21st, 2021. General fund payroll, $19,985.28, and operating expense, $56,023.33. Highway fund payroll is $8,147.41, and operating expenses is $21,168.68. Solid waste management fund payroll is $1,496.65, and operating expense is $9,176.89. Library will be payroll $1,937.70 and no operating expense, for grand total of payroll $31,567.04 and operating expense of $86,368.90.
So moved.
Oh, no, he made the motion.
Right, yeah.
So the second.
My second.
Second, yeah.
I'm ready to go.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the warrants for the town dated June 21st, 2021. Is there any discussion?
Just the highway thing, there's a big one for gravel, 10,000 to St. Pierre's.
Yeah, I had a little discussion, and I've had a lot of, I passed that comment on to Ray, and they left. I got 2 like flat tires on my truck, and then I got 2 on my hay wagon. Eric Hennessy, my neighbor, got 2 on his pickup.
Sharp rocks?
Yes, and then and they're in the brand new tires, and you can't fix them. And then Bill Stankovich did down on Baltimore Road, and I think Chris Whidden did on Baltimore Road. So that's like a little bit way more than a coincidence to me about product.
That's the nature, from what I understand, that's the nature of how they're making that product and what they're making it out of.
Sharp.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we might want to consider, even if it's a little more costly in the future, going to something different.
Well,
is it just? I'm sorry. Is it just St. Pierre's? I don't mean to throw them, but is it get made there? I don't know how.
Yes, it gets made there.
And so Ray, who I emailed about that, said that no, it's the 3-inch rock or whatever. Well, I can guarantee you that I'm not riding over 3-inch rock.
No, you're riding over 1 inch.
Not even. It's less than that.
Really?
It's,
I think
yeah,
so.
it's
Three-quarter to 1 is
yeah.
pretty common. I've got
Yeah.
some on
Yeah.
our driveway too.
Yeah. So the issue is not so. I think, kind of as a general rule, and I don't want to talk about them when they're not here, but the SurePack has a place, but so does gravel, and a happy mix is a happy road. And I don't know all the answers, but that's just one thing. All those flat tires are not, that's not a coincidence. They have them in different places. And they put a bunch down my road, and they put a bunch down Baltimore Road. I would ask, Olivia, if you look at page 1 of 5 on the general fund, about, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th one down, 223912. It's made out to the West Weathersfield Fire Department for consulting. Richard Bowen for $1,450. Who's consulting now for a fire? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, no.
That's like not a. I didn't know we were authorizing consulting going on with fire departments.
That does seem.
Did anybody, you guys?
I didn't know.
No, I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch it either.
Usually that's us consultants or some
Are
other.
you guys getting paid for something I don't know about?
Not.
No.
I don't know Richard Bowen.
No.
The name's really ringing a bell right now,
So-
so I wish it was.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I mean,
Don't know. You're right. I don't.
$14.50, yeah.
I don't understand what we're consulting with for that amount of money.
Back in February 11th.
It was?
That's
Yeah,
what
look
it says.
at the date on it, 2/11/21.
I don't know what we're doing.
Can we get more information on that then?
Yes. Can you get us more information or send us out? I mean, I suppose we should approve the thing, but I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, well, the guy's gonna get paid for whatever he did, but.
I don't know. Any other questions? I just looked at that when it first came down, but I haven't even scrolled any others.
No, I'm good.
All those in favor of so the motion been made and seconded to approve the warrants of June 21st, 2021. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Did you sign the paper for Steve, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Took it and left.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. What does 48